invested in the idea of Natasha with actually either or both of you guys, and now obviously she's with Bruce. What do you guys make of that?
She's a slut. I was gonna say something along that line. Complete whore. Trick, man.
What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Sunday night. We're going to be reviewing the Orville New Horizons, aka season 3 of the Orville, aka New Horizons. I don't know why they named it that, but either way, it's season 3. It's a spoiler full review. We're going to be talking about all the episodes. We're going to go through the episodes, break them down one by one, talk about how we felt about them. I have a lot of thoughts about this season. And joining me today are going to be a couple guests, but they're late. But Script Doctor, the Canadian, is on time. So hello, Script Doctor. How are you?
I am well. Happy to be here. Excited to talk about the Orville, New Horizons. And yeah, let's let's see what happens as the day goes on.
I know. I love how you're so timely because, Canadians are usually punctual. On time. Yeah, punctual. I'm a Mexican now, so I'm not usually punctual anymore. But it's like something I learned here. It's like you're gonna have to just go with the times. We live on like tropical time that's special and different than everybody else's.
I'm still on like Hollywood time, which is if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late.
That's funny. Yeah,
and I try my best to not be too early on the public side of things because people get annoyed by that.
That's true. Like if you show up early to a party, it's like, what are you doing here, man? No.
Unless it's a Hollywood party in which like everybody's there is yeah, it's funny. It's like party starts at 7. Great. Everybody shows up at 6:45.
Really? There's no such thing as being
mostly
fashionably late anymore?
Depends on your level of tier status within the industry though, but it's quite funny. Like they usually, a lot of the times, the hosts will lie about when they're actually starting the party, when they'll be ready, because they want people like file in like kind of staggered. So I remember one time, like I was dating a girl in California and we had a shared friend and he told me, oh yeah, it's going to start at 7:10. I'm like, okay, that's a weird time. And then he tells my girlfriend, oh yeah, it's going to start at 7:20.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Well, speaking of fashionably late and on a lower tier, here's Scott. What's going on?
Hi, friends.
Scott, how are you?
I was sitting back there. I thought I could get a French fry down. What's going on, everybody? Yeah, I'm if fashionably late is cool, call me Miles Davis.
Oh my God.
If being fashionably late. Okay, I got that.
So bad.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Terrible.
What's up, everybody?
Not much. What's going on with you, Scott?
Life. Yeah, I changed brakes on this car. It took me 2 days because I am not mechanically. I'm electrically capable, but mechanically, no. So it took me 2 days and sunburn and sun poisoning. It's good times. But I'm here now.
All right. Well, that's good. Well, why don't you, since you're here, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on the YouTube at the Sporking News podcast. I'm thinking about dropping the podcast because I'm not a podcaster. So that might be coming soon, but you can find me there, Twitter, all the other places, Rumble. Just pick one.
You could replace podcast with just dump, Sporking News dump.
Oh my God.
I'm thinking about that. That's pretty good. I am known for my dumps.
Oh my gosh, you are. There's Teresa saying smash the like button. Hi, Teresa. Please do smash the like button. Share the stream. Tell everybody. We're talking about the Orville because a lot of people, I don't know if they know about this show or if they do. A lot of people in this community don't really talk about the Orville all that much, but we're going to talk about it. So here we are. So if other people want to talk about it, let them know. Let them know. I have this for stress purposes because I'm going to be basically disagreeing with Scott a lot today. So like,
you're just wrong. That's all I'm gonna say is you're wrong.
No, you're wrong. Okay. Well, you know what? We're gonna get started. Script Doctor, before we get started, please tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at ScriptDoctorPhD, and you can see some of my video essays where I do breakdowns and analysis of television shows and movies at youtube.com/ScriptDoctor.
Excellent. Yes, we're here for all the spoilers. So everybody be prepared, get ready, get your popcorn on, and let's go. Let's do this. Okay. I guess first things first, before we get into like the nitty gritty, let's, like we do usually, let's talk about what we thought as a, as a whole for the season, and kind of like, give our initial impressions, and then we'll start breaking down some of the episodes. Well, all the episodes. Script Doctor, please tell us your initial thoughts.
I thought this season was kind of a par for the course to a degree. It definitely felt more like a playing in the kids' sandbox type of direction of the series, as opposed to just trying to be more science fiction-y. There's a lot of moments where you could tell it was more so to the enjoyment of the cast and crew to do this show than it was for us as an audience to watch it.
Okay.
That's the basics I'm gonna start with at this point.
Okay, great. And then Scott, what were your overall thoughts?
Overall thoughts is I went in thinking they were going to be woke as hell, and I was pleasantly surprised they weren't. They had their moments, as any show does when you're talking about societal things like Star Trek and stuff like that. I think it's the best sci-fi show out there. I think the season was great. I think you're wrong about everything. The only thing I agree with you on is I hate Charlie.
Oh, okay. At least we agree on that.
Charlie's terrible.
I hate her so much.
We'll get into that later on because I was happy when something happened.
Yeah.
But anyways, so what's weird is I like the season. I thought the season was good. I thought it started out really terribly. Like I was like, like I don't know if I can get through this after the first 2 episodes. And then it started to pick up more and more and more as it went along. So I'm happy to report that overall I enjoyed it a lot. It could have been a lot worse. And I like you actually, Scott, I thought it was going to be a lot more woke than I expected. Like there was several people commented on the fact that there's a Trump episode. I still don't think that, like, I still didn't see the Trumpian situation versus like kind of like what you were saying last week, Script Doctor, that they just talk about a coup in the episode, and I don't necessarily think that that's a Trump.
Are we talking about the
I think it's episode.
What's her name?
6. Yeah.
Yeah. See,
what's her name? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm
What's
just
her
reading
name?
Your mind.
She's a woman.
The vampire chick.
Yeah, the vampire. She's a woman. Who cares? The Trumpian thing, like to me, that is people just looking for something,
Right.
Like, an oligarchy or a dictatorship, or like there are differences, and like they play on all of them. Like just like where people are like, there's so many trans things. Well, really, it was about a young kid that was forced into transitioning. Okay, we'll get into it. I won't.
But there is a lot.
The first
I'm
episode
sorry. There's so much going on.
There is a lot. We'll get into all of it. So let's start with episode 1. Let's just go in. So the episode starts with obviously like we've returned to the Orville, and it kind of starts with a dream sequence with the doctor's kid, and what he's dealing with basically the initial fallout of the war, and trying to he's traumatized, obviously. I think that in the dream sequence, it's exactly kind of like what he went through, or at least it wanted to show us that that's what he went through during the battle, and that's why he's so traumatized. And I remember when they dropped this initially because this was the very first sequence that you see in the Orville season 1 is the promotional trailer that they dropped several months ago. And I remember when I first saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I love this. Like, this is going to be amazing. But seeing it in the episode 1, I was taken aback a little bit, because I was like, wait, we're going backwards. Like now we're just starting to talk about that episode again. And I don't really see why this is necessary. And then as the episode kind of progressed, it went from bad to worse, in my opinion.
Can you go back to that picture real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Doesn't inside his mouth look like a sunset between two
does it?
mountains?
Or like a pit of kind of.
Kind of.
You know,
yeah,
like-
yes, it does. There's the two mountains. there's the
Yeah,
sun,
like it almost looks like
sunlight.
there's some clouds and stuff.
Yeah, he's got that kind of like venom mouth going on.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff there.
Yeah. I thought it was important that they went back and showed the trauma of what happened with Isaac, because so much with like Next Generation, which I've only watched a couple seasons now, but like something major will happen in the next episode, they don't talk about it. And you're just like, what the hell? What? Like, at least they kind of were like, Isaac pretty much, yes, he ended up saving Earth, but he also just totally blindsided everyone on that ship and totally like took all their trust away. And showing him having to be someone with no emotion, learning how to build back up trust. And his reaction to it was emotional, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty deep.
I can see that. I can see that. But I think that the reason that I agree with you in that sense, but I think they could have done a better job of that if that was the intention of doing that.
The
But I
sequence
think
itself was way too long.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's just constantly running. Things are happening. It's like you could cut that down into a third of the length, and it'd be far
Several
more
minutes,
effective because it'd be far more chaotic.
Were they going for a one shot, even though it's like CGI?
Kind of. Here's the
That's
other
what
thing.
I felt like they were doing.
Yeah. This is the biggest flaw with the Orville. It's not even part of on a writing standpoint. It's the fact that anytime there's a pad where they have to punch buttons, they're punching thousands of them all the time.
right. Yes. What the hell?
It's basically like there's no streamlining to do things. Like instead of saying, "Oh, we're gonna turn left," it's like, okay, if you you don't press the left button, you type in like 40 commands, and then you hit enter, and then the ship turns left. It's like that.
And this comes back around in the
terrible.
final episode, which we get into, but that was a big problem in that final episode for me. But well, not final episode, the second to last episode. But I feel like, Scott, this episode was mainly done to set up the introduction for Charlie's character. Like, it was basically like,
Oh,
okay,
God,
this
yeah.
is Charlie's character.
Valid
She's gonna
point.
be a main character, and that, like, she hates him because of X, Y, and Z, and
Yeah.
it's just a big jumble of things, and I didn't like Charlie's character from the get-go, and not because I hate women, because believe it or not, I like women. Like, I do. I think they're sexy. They can be. I think she's a very good-looking woman. I think she's very pretty. I think
She has a pretty face, but
Yeah,
she has
she's got-
a child's body. She's a
Well,
tiny
Does
thing.
she? I mean,
He
she's
likes
tiny.
he likes them small, doesn't he?
McFarlane, yep.
Yeah.
God, you guys, I don't know.
No. I'm sorry. She is a pretty girl when she's actually, like, the episode when they're singing. She's very pretty, but like every episode where she has that stank face, she is really like an ugly looking person. Like, she plays ugly. If that's not real, she is a great actress. Because I feel like that's her in general. Like, I feel like I want to hate her all the time.
Yeah, I hated her from the get-go, and I was like, I don't understand why they've made her so unlikable. Like, there's nothing to like about her. And I was
Right.
like, I don't understand like how I'm supposed to relate to her. And even when I started to relate to her, and I know I'm skipping episodes,
Yeah,
you guys,
it's
I'm
gonna happen.
sorry, but there is one episode where she's talking about why it is that she doesn't like Isaac, and it comes down to the fact that it's not like, oh, you destroyed the whole human race, or like you wanted to destroy the whole human race, or biologicals or whatever. It came down to the fact that she couldn't scissor her potential girlfriend. And I was like, dude, are you fucking kidding me with this line? Because
Yeah.
that whole thing,
They should have
about
kept
her-
it not gay. They should have kept it girlfriends, like
it
friends.
doesn't even matter, Scott. Even if she was gay, I don't care if it was gay, like straight, whatever. The characters battle was superficial, because
See, I disagree.
I think it was superficial. I didn't like it was very
He killed her best
selfish.
friend. He killed her best friend. killed everybody she knew on that ship.
He also saved millions of people.
But see, that's us who love Isaac from watching season to season. All she knows is he's part of this alien race. He came here, got into the Union, tricked everyone, then sent them all here, killed all her friends,
also
killed everyone she knew on the ship.
Counterpoint to that, what you just said. Counterpoint, she didn't give a fuck about anyone on that spaceship. She only cared about her potential lesbian lover.
Okay,
and
valid point.
She said that several times. She didn't bring up any of her other friends. She didn't bring up the shipmates. She didn't bring up the captain.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm defending her because I can't stand her too. I can't
She
stand
didn't
her
bring
too.
up any of that stuff. She only brought up the fact that, oh my God, like that was this girl and I loved her and you kept me away from her and like blah blah blah, and it was like the potential of falling in love with her because I could never tell her my feelings, and I was like, what are you talking about, lady?
So what I hated about her was like, even like no matter what, he could be walking by like shooting gold out his ass with like champagne coming out of his eyes, and she like could be doing something and all happy and turn and give him the most stank eye you'll ever see. Like there was never moments, like only towards like those last couple episodes, but like in the beginning episode, she just like hates him so much that it's like, are you allowed to hate somebody that much when you're like on shift? You know, like
here's the other part too, is that the context for Isaac's story is that he is technically a puppet of the Kalon. They built him for a specific role and then turned him off, but they allowed him to be left on, and he sort of cut his own strings so that he could be free. And that situation would be considered Union log. Like it's in the reports. Everybody would have access to it to know exactly that Isaac was used and manipulated and programmed for this, and that he broke free of that programming. Now, the thing is that Charlie never really acknowledges that, and I think it's fair for her to hate him because she doesn't have all the information yet.
Right,
I mean, she's just an ensign. She's low rank, but after being on the ship for a little bit of time, especially during the refit, which is like the first half of the episode, you should kind of see a ship divided that's a bit more debating the things like, should Isaac still be here? And the other people say, well, he's the one, he's the reason we won this. But it's like, he's also the reason that we got into it. It's like, well, the Kalon are the reason they got into it. They built him to that, and he turned against them. So
I mean, he went against his own programming. That's amazing. They dragged her hatred for him on way too long. That's the problem.
But you know what? Like by the end, it makes sense why they were so on the nose about her hating him, because they were going somewhere with it. I understand that part. Right. But the other part that I very much disliked about her was the fact that I think her to be a Mary Sue character. I don't think
she with the 4D look, like
the 4D thing. I think that she it makes no sense.
She can account for time. That's her fourth, because that's what the fourth dimension is, like fourth dimensional thinking. She accounts for time. Yeah. It's like, okay, other people don't account for time. That's everybody. This is going to take me 10 minutes to do.
It's also as if she can see, like, in terms of other dimensions. Like,
that's what I took from it.
Dimensionally speaking, like, she can see outside the box or something. Now, listen, again, I wouldn't have a problem if, let's say, she was an alien, like, so that, you can be like, oh, well, she's an alien. We don't know what her species is capable of. Sure, I can go with this, just kind of like the way you think Tala or whatever her name is like super strength, and she's got a lot of strength and stuff like that.
Yes, she does.
But, and with her case, it's like she's a human being. There has to be a reason why a human being would be like extremely smart. This girl's like smarter than like freaking Stephen Hawking and Einstein and all these people together. And it's
evolution.
How are you?
I took it as she's evolved a little bit more than we have, because how many hundreds of years? It's thousands, millions? No, it's like thousands of years, right? It's thousands, correct? They're like 24.
They're in the 25th century.
Yeah, the
25th century. Yeah, wow, I totally in my head made that thousands, 400 here. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and our species has been around approximately 150,000 to 200,000.
Totally taking back what I was just about to say. What an idiot.
Good. Good. Real quick, let me just get to some of these really early super chats from 200 Watt Studios, who's
Yeah.
sponsoring the show tonight, apparently. Thank you, 200 Watt Studios, for this $20. So generous of you. Says, I thought it was a perfect season. Loved it from episode 1 of the season. This was the most Star Trek season since 2005. First episode is a logical progression of the Klingon War. Glad they dealt with it, honestly. And I agree with some of what you're saying. And I agree in terms of the Star Trek thing. I actually think it's also like a lot better than anything Star Wars we've gotten. Like all the battleship scenes and sequences.
Oh my God, the fights?
Yeah, like it actually reminded me more of Star Wars than Star Trek in that case. And I thought that they did a better job in a lot of those sequences. So yes, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. And again, for another $10, 200 Watt Studio says, you're not supposed to like Charlie at the beginning. Her arc was realistic. She represented people bitter over the war. Her losing her loved one is representative of losing a family member. I understand, but when you're dealing with somebody, like to me, the idea of dealing with like on such a grand scale and in such a futuristic society where you're supposed to be past certain things, she came off as extremely selfish. It wasn't so much like, oh, I'm mad at you for trying to destroy my entire species and entire like the organics. It was just this one lesbian girl that she was. Yeah, she wasn't
really
even her lover. It wasn't even like they were an item.
Here's the thing: she didn't lose anything. She lost the potential for something. So it actually has a little bit less of an actual like losing a limb type of feeling. It's like she lost something she never had.
Exactly. It was like she wasn't even married. Like if it was she was married to the chick, I'd be like, okay,
no kids with her.
See, the survivor's guilt thing would have been a better route to go. Like she gave up her life for her to live. I can understand her bringing everything down to one aspect. It's not about the destruction of the species. It's you killed someone who gave up her life for me.
Right.
Like they should have focused more on that.
Contrived way ever too. It's like who in the right mind would design an escape pod that that has to be activated from the outside, or it has so many doesn't have enough redundancies to be activated from the inside, because it's only the person on the inside that's going to really need to use it.
Right. Oh no, the one button to launch is broken. Guess you're gonna die.
Yeah.
It's not one button to launch. They were bashing away on that keyboard thing for like the entire duration of the seat. It's like, it's an escape pod. Get the hell out of there. One switch, a lever, just pull. And
every time I see them going nuts on the keyboard, I think of George. Because George is like,
yeah. Or Brittany Venti does the same thing too. It's hilarious.
So awesome.
But yeah, I just think that there's just certain things about her that were like completely insufferable. And I understand that it was by design. I don't necessarily agree with the design.
She was all about hate, though.
I just think that there were certain things that I was like, this could have been done better. It could have been dealt better in many ways. Like, for example, with her Mary Sue thing, turn her into an alien. Easy fix. And then it won't be like, oh, she's a human being that's just better than at everything, at everybody.
Comes from
like
a species that
everyone.
has that type of additional perspective or perception.
Yeah, like she's better than Isaac. At certain things. Like that's impressive.
And fucking calculating time and like, being like whatever. It's like, okay.
But they did make
AI. Okay.
They did make a point that she is one in a generation being. A human being.
She's a human.
I don't know why she's just an ensign then, but she's one in a generation human being. Like she is the Einstein. It did not make that's what didn't make sense to me. It's like if she is the one in a generation, why is she just an ensign?
Right. Like, why? Like, how is that even thing?
She should be in a think tank.
She's 19.
She was born to be, like, the bestest ever.
Yeah.
She's never lived life in the 20th century as an actor.
Yeah.
201 Studios for another 5. Her arc was humanity's arc. She came around and allowed peace. She became a better person by the end and brought peace between the Alliance and the Klingons. Look, I'm not arguing any of this, but I'm saying that I also feel like the reason, and one of the reasons, and to be fair, I think it's funny because Script Doctor, you brought up the fact that Seth is dating her or was. I don't know if he still is because now she's not there anymore. But so like, I think that one of the reasons that she was like the bestest ever at everything, and the reasons it felt like that, was because that Seth was into her, and it was almost as if it's like she wanted to make her this perfect being. And then by the end of it, she became a fucking martyr, and she was like, oh my God, like, and like, dude, when Seth was giving that speech at the end, like at her funeral or whatever, and he's like, she was the best at everything, and she's like the just going on and on about how like she's the most bestest person ever. I was like, I'm fucking done with this. Like,
Yeah,
can we just
it
move
was
on?
that was a really bad choice, because when we get to that episode, there's a far more Star Trekian decision that would have been done at that time. But like for this first episode, it's really just to catch up. This is what's going on for the last year. We've been getting a refit. We got the oldest son of the Doctor is still a jerk, who hates Isaac so much that he suggests that Isaac shut himself down. And that's what the plot of this is because every season of the Orville, Isaac gets deactivated at some point and has to be saved.
Right. And
that's
that
pretty
was
weird, right?
And that was the thing. Like, she was the one. She's the one that is able to fix him of all the people. And I was just like, really? Her?
Right.
Like, you know, they just bring this chick in, you know, in the middle of the freaking episode, and he's the one that she's the one that can save. Not the middle of the episode, in the middle of basically the series. Like, okay, like, you know, we don't know her. This is the first time we get to know her, and all this stuff like that. I did think it was interesting that he did decide to commit suicide. Like, I thought that part of
that was really
the
interesting.
episode was very interesting, and it shows that he is more than the sum of, like, he's not an AI. Like,
he's not just zeros and ones.
Exactly. He's like, he is definitely developing something there. But there was just so much stuff that I was like, what's happening? And the pacing of the episode too was like so weird that I was like, I don't understand. But yeah, she's the one that saves him, even though she hates him so much. And the entire
and she
episode
did it under orders, essentially.
Yes.
That was her excuse.
I think she did it under orders. She wouldn't have done it if he hadn't ordered her.
He didn't. He said she had the opportunity. She could say yes or no. She said no, and when she ended up doing it, did he actually order her? I thought he
No, he gave her the option, but everything around the context was that I want you to do this.
Right, and then when she did it, he said thank you, and she goes, well, that was my orders. Like, she didn't want to say I did it for anybody but it was for the I kind of felt like that was her way of saying I'm doing it for the crew, not for him, because I want to be like liked with the crew. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think she did it for the other kid. Like, I thought she did it for the
kid that said that Isaac should be shut down.
Right.
She kind of did that for him because he starts realizing that his thing was motivated out of fear and misunderstanding, and that's supposed to be implied to Charlie that's why she's so belligerent towards Isaac.
Mm-hmm. And that's something else that I wanted to bring up, was the idea that, like, I understand what they were trying to do with regards to, like, her partner, or like, well, it wasn't even her partner, it was, again, like some lesbian lover chick, but it wasn't even, like, some potential lesbian lover. But they wanted to do something similar to why, like, Cisco hated Picard at the beginning of DS9. Like, he could not stand Captain Picard because he was responsible for his wife's death. And like with the the Borg battle and everything like that, and he really blamed Captain Picard. He was like, the reason that my wife died was because of you, and I fucking hate you. And that to me was understandable, because they were married, they had a child together, there was a certain personal connection that you cannot sever. It was so crazy that personal connection that Cisco had, that there was a moment in that first episode where he meets the wormhole aliens, and they're telling him, you live here, in that memory of his wife's death over and over and over again, because that's all he can ever picture whenever he thinks of her. But she doesn't have that personal connection, so it just felt contrived. Like, it's like, okay, like, I had a crush on someone when I was 15. Like, am I going to still think about that if somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just feels a little contrived to me. 200 Watt Studios for 5 says her arc was human. Oh, we already read that one. Thank you, 200 Watt Studios. Russell Hall for 2 says the fourth dimension is change. Time is just an aspect. Okay. Yeah, I can
On the
see
physics level
that.
side of things, fourth dimension is time. Like,
Yes, but it could be. That's why I'm like I saw it a little bit more than not just time, but also like maybe just seeing it more in broad depth. Like
I thought
different
dimensional.
versions of it,
Yeah,
like
me too.
dimensionally.
Me
like
too.
again,
I'm
but
a
they didn't
moron, so I
clarify
don't
it.
know.
It's not like they clarified it. They could have, but they
Right.
didn't. They were just like, oh yeah, she sees in fourth dimensions. Whatever
Yeah,
the fuck that means.
yeah.
You can make up your own mind about whatever.
She's a wizard, Harry.
She can see
if
magic.
they said that she's an expert in multilateral thinking, which is different, it's a bit more abstract, but you can understand that you can see multiple perspectives of things at the same time.
Mhm.
That's a bit more in line because we actually have lots of those types of people alive today. Like, it's just they can multitask and think and process information at different rates than anyone else. But no, they decided to basically do what's I would consider Voyager level writing, is like, oh, we'll just do half the work of
Right.
technobabble.
And then 200 Watt Studios brings up actually someone from DS9 saying Charlie went to the same lab as Bashir there.
So
Wait,
she was
I don't-
born slow, and they just genetically modified her to be smart.
Oh my god. So she was like a fucking, oh my god. She was Downs and then they fixed her.
I just
Like,
I
what
gotta
are you saying, man?
I gotta stress it again with Charlie. Like, she always seemed a little bitchy throughout the show, but anytime he walked in, just that visceral hatred for him, like I would have been like, okay, we gotta replace this girl. Like, I don't care how smart she is, like, she's gonna end up killing him in his sleep or somebody in her sleep. She's a psycho. Like, that's what I didn't like. She always seems so angry.
Even in
You
the
know?
poster, look at her right by my
Yeah,
side. Like,
she
looking
looks like she's the
sinister.
evil one. Yeah, she's the evil one.
She always got that like resting bitch face.
Yes,
And I was
next
like,
to
there's
Scott
nothing to
Grimes.
like about her.
That's not
Scott-
even a bitch face. That's a I'm gonna kill you.
Yes. I mean,
Because
Scott.
that's more active as opposed because a resting bitch face is more passive. It's like
Yes.
how do you rest that way?
Yeah, that's not resting. That's I'm looking at you with intent to kill.
With
Oh
that
my god, look
tiny
at this.
little curl of
Look
the
at
lip,
this
almost a
still
smirk,
shot
but
I
not
just
quite.
I just caught of her. I was like trying to find a picture of her and look at this.
Look at it. Just
Look at that
That's
face.
more resting, yeah.
she looks like I want to go to the grunge concert, Mom.
I'm
you
gonna
know?
kill everyone.
And everyone's gonna die. And look at Seth behind her. She's little. I like her.
Well, he just likes being behind her. That's what
Yeah,
that is.
bow.
Hello. Oh my
Hey,
god.
now.
I should have. Oh my god.
Hey, phrasing!
Russell Hall for 5 says, "Did you ever read the fan fiction Star Trek story that coined the phrase Mary Sue? It ended with a funeral affirming Mary Sue was the best at everything." No, I never saw that.
Oh, I've read
Russell.
it. She's the Mary Sue is like 16, and for some reason the captain is in love with her, but they don't do anything, and it has nothing to do with the fact that she's underage. It's a
What?
16-year-old ensign that
Wow.
sacrifices herself and then has a funeral, much like the end of this series for Charlie.
Wow.
Yeah, and
That's
it's only like
pretty
a page and a
interesting.
quarter. It's a very, very short fanfic.
So she's a literal Mary Sue. I'm telling you, man, it was hilarious. That's like I was just like, dude, this is like the definition of a Mary Sue is this chick's entire character. Like,
I'm
what's
with you on
going
that.
with her.
I am with you on that.
The Jack of all casuals. Hey, thank you for becoming a member. I haven't seen you in a minute, buddy. Good to see you. Jack and I used to play Among Us all the time. It's good to see you, man. Thank you for becoming a member of the Infinity Channel. Okay, so that was my thoughts on episode 1. Do you guys have anything else to say? Should we move to episode 2?
Yeah.
Because I have thoughts on episode 2. That was a mess. That was a mess. Script.
No,
Do you have anything else to say?
There's not much to say other than they introduced that fighter shuttle thing,
Right, they did. They
and
did.
Oh, yeah,
we
right.
don't see it again till the end of the series.
Yes,
it's
we
the most
don't.
pointless thing to have around.
Oh, also, we found out that you can sleep with the needle people.
Oh yeah, they have
Um,
that weird. They
this-
think death is
this
a
freaking thing.
curse.
Oh yeah. I'd hit it.
Would you? Like, I feel like that would be really painful.
I mean, you could try new things.
They might
You
just
know?
look sharp, but they might be really soft. Like
They could be
nipples.
spongy.
Really? You think so? I think
Not
it's
at
like
all.
having sex with a cactus. Like,
Well, I mean,
Doesn't
you-
look like they're gonna be that hard.
What type of cactus? I mean,
I'm like a fucking prickly cactus. I think that would hurt.
Considering what happens to Lamar later on, I think that.
Yeah, exactly.
That was.
I mean, you look at her throat. You can.
Wow, Scott.
I didn't mean to go there, and the minute I said it, I was like, "That's gonna come out really wrong." But there's no spikes. I meant on her.
My God.
Does the skin look red and swollen?
That's what she said.
That's my joke. Damn it, Dwight.
Man.
Well, anyways, yeah, you can have sex with these things apparently.
Yep.
And they're fine.
Yeah, they're all about death.
Yeah, and then there was that dialogue was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see the shuttle that you're talking about. Get a picture of that. I gotta say, every time there was a scene with Yaphet, I was like on the verge of tears.
Oh.
I was like, oh.
Now, did he like die after the filming
Yeah.
of
Long
season
after
3?
this, yeah.
Okay.
Long after.
They
Yeah.
finished shooting this like a year and change ago.
Because every time I heard it, I'm like, is that him? Is that really him?
Yeah, it was all him. And this scene was great when he was in the freaking astronaut suit.
yeah.
Cracked me up. Pretty much like any scene with Yaphet was great. I thought that was fantastic.
What are they going to do with Yaphet, though? Is he not going to talk?
We're gonna get into that because I
Okay.
had a thought on this, but I'm gonna save it for the last episode.
Okay.
Okay. So I didn't find this stupid ship, but we also find out that the doctor is kind of like rethinking things in this episode. She's like really dealing with her feelings about Isaac and all the stuff that's coming out from the fallout with the Kalon and everything like that. So there's also that kind of stuff going on behind the scenes. Russell Hall 5 says, is it possible that the entire Mary Sue episode was actually a subtle parody of the Mary Sue story? That's something that Seth MacFarlane would do. Hey, that could be. I wouldn't put it past him.
Well, the thing is that she's technically a Mary Sue in that regards throughout the entire series. So, and it's not done as a parody. They don't make fun of the fact that she's really good at stuff like this. It's not there. She's a very straightforward character.
Yeah, there's not really making fun of. It's like literally like this. She's the best.
Especially when they go back in time.
Yes, and which was
At the
another
bar.
freaking episode that I fucking hated. I was like, I think I'm gonna fucking throw something at the screen. I needed this thing with me the whole time. I was like, what's happening with this? 200 Watt Studios for $2. Thank you. Saying making love with those cleated food massagers.
Cleated.
Oh my, cleated food massagers. Oh my god damn it, gross. Okay, wait. Okay, here we go. Episode 2 was very bad. Hold on.
That's with the Bioborg, right?
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god. Okay, so here's my
Good way of
main
putting
problem
it.
with the episode. First of all, I thought the pacing was a little bit better than the first episode, not by much. The 1st episode was god awful in terms of pacing. But this one too was like, oh man, but at least it picked up a little bit. Now the idea to me was, so in this episode, the crew goes on to this kind of like this, what was it? A space station.
Right. It was like it was a space station, but it had like life.
It was organic.
Yes, that's a good
So
word. Thank you.
The Orville gets permission to travel beyond Krill space to unexplored areas.
Yep.
And one of those areas that they want to go to, the Krill say you really shouldn't because there's demons that are there. And the Union, thinking that they're just, crazy religious people, pat them on the head. But when they travel, they find a giant organic space station
Right.
that has like a homing beacon or distress call to lead them in. And
Right.
they investigate with an admiral who is supervising, and the admiral is the ex-husband of Claire.
Right.
And you find out that he was her teacher.
And meanwhile, yes, exactly. So meanwhile, this dude comes on board, right?
He was in
And,
Voyager.
was he? I don't know.
I just looked it up.
I don't remember who he was.
You know why I knew he
Must've been
looked
a
so
guest star.
well? He looked so familiar because in the original Charm, he was the dad.
Oh.
I've never seen Charmed.
Me either.
I've never seen it either. But okay, so this is one of the problems I had with this episode and the Orville in general. Like, and this is a critique on its own. Like, it's not so much that it bothers me because I think that Orville has a lot more potential. I think that one of the things that they're going for, that Seth MacFarlane was going for was the idea that it is a very Star Trek-like series.
Yep.
However, one of the main differences between this series and Star Trek is the fact that there are major rules and consequences in Star Trek that have not been fully fleshed out in this series, in the Orville. Because the Orville started out very comedically and was just, at first it was, it was a very funny, we're going to be funny episodes and blah, blah, blah. We're going to throw jokes here and there. Whereas now it's starting to pick up and be more serious and blah, blah, blah. So in order for that to happen, and in order for me to believe it to be an actually serious sci-fi, we need some ground rules. And one of the biggest ground rules in Star Trek is their rules that the Federation follows, like the rules for first contact, which they kind of explore in the final episode of this series.
Right.
Which again comes at a way too late. So the things that I had a problem with was the idea that the Admiral would even go on this away mission, and not just that the entire senior staff would go on this away mission.
And not just that.
Would never happen in Star Trek.
Not just that, they're not wearing any protective gear.
No protective gear.
That blows my goddamn mind. Like,
I was like, what is happening in this episode? They have literally zero protocols.
Right.
And these are the things that really bother me, because we're in season 3. At this point, we should have set protocols, set situations. If you want to send the Admiral, you better have the freaking captain be like, hey, I object to you going. You need certain things like this. And then in this case, they're like, let's take the entire senior staff without any protection to this random place we've never been to. And it looks really fucked up and abandoned. And there's all these different problems.
That was my biggest problem with this episode. That was that they even got into this position.
Yeah. Script doctor, tell me what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I felt that it had a little bit of a contrived aspect to it, because they go in with a shuttle and they're treating this space station like what they would treat a planet, which is way different, because a planet has a contained atmosphere. They can register that it's breathable, and there's probably nothing going to be too wrong with it, because scanners show that. But they go over there because they can't penetrate the scans. They don't know anything at all. It just reminds me of that meme from Galaxy Quest. It's like, why are you opening the door? There could not be any air. Right. The guy's freaking out.
Exactly. Like, they show up and it's literally a moths to a flame kind of thing. Like, they're like, oh, the door opened for us. Let's just go in.
Well, they did the same. They did the same thing in season 1 with that Exos, the bio ship. Like, they could not scan it. They couldn't communicate. And they were like, let's just open doors and walk in.
Right.
Oh, yeah, for the yes, you're talking about the generation ship.
The generation ship where they were like,
that was silly also.
Yeah, I'm sorry, these people are nuts sometimes. They're so stupid. I thought the episode was interesting, but the whole concept of how it happened pissed me off. All of a sudden after the fact, they're all wearing biosuits.
Yeah, why didn't you do that the first time? Oh, I know why. Because of plot.
Yes,
because you needed this guy to get hurt, and then. But you could have done that. They could have already done that. Let's say, they're wearing the suits, and then when they get to that place that the Admiral became, saw that thing or whatever. Let's say
it sprayed it right in his face.
Right.
And he doesn't report it.
But let's say it happened, right? Let's say the way it happened, but they could have easily made it so that thing that he saw is giving off a pulsar light that hypnotizes him or something. So he goes in and he's getting hypnotized, and then he takes off his helmet, and then the other guy that's with him is like, Admiral, what are you doing? Not understanding why he's hypnotized or why he's doing what he's doing.
That would have been wow, so smart.
Those certain things could make the episode so much better, but instead they're like, hey, let's just everybody go in and just whatever, who cares? That you had this scene here where this chick's like, oh, let me just touch this wall, right?
It
And this
drives me insane.
is after like they've all split up, so they're like in teams, they've all split up. And then that she's with the doctor, and the doctor goes, might not want to touch anything, like as she's about to touch this thing.
Like,
and I'm
how
like,
did you make rank of commander and first
Right.
officer not knowing this? Because the way you do it is you have them come into the biosuits, and then they check the atmosphere. Like, you know what? It's actually quite breathable and safe. There's nothing underneath that. So they just take off the helmets and they start going around doing everything else, exploring, and then that's how you get to your
It could be that easy. Like, oh, that was dumb of us, but it's breathable.
Or very easily, the doctor could have told all of them this when they landed. Please don't touch anything while you're here. Like, you know, because she's telling her, because she's on her team and she's seeing her reach. What about the rest of the fucking crew? What about Lamar? That guy's like not.
He humped a statue. He's gonna be touching everything.
You might want to tell that guy not to hump anything while he's here. Like, you know, like, I don't know. It's just a certain thing that was just like really stuck out for me. I was like, what are they doing with this? Like they could be doing so much better, but they weren't. And it was very bothersome.
Do you feel like they're still trying to find their way? Because I feel like from what it was season 1 to where Seth was like, oh my God, this could be something, you know, more than just a parody. I still feel like they're trying to find their legs. And I'm telling you, I love this series. I'm being very critique-ish, but
I don't know.
I want to watch another season. I want another season.
I don't know if I would say that they're still trying to find their legs, because they've now found their legs. I don't even think they're gonna get another season, to be completely honest with you. I think Seth might be done. Like, I think that it's possible for him to just be like, nah, like I'm good, because I feel like Seth started this as a passion project. Like, for him, it was like, okay, like I have a passion Star Trek, like for Star Trek and sci-fi, and I want to make this show. I've made this show now. There's 3 seasons of it.
I mean, he has gone out there though and been like, we need more views on Disney Plus. That'll help us. Like,
well, he wants to probably make a 4th, but he sunk a lot of his own money into this 3rd one to make it happen. I think they did find their legs. However, given some of the writing staff, they are kind of old and they're not as hungry as they used to be when they were at their prime. So I'd say they found their legs, but both feet are asleep. So they're walking kind of on pins and needles when they don't need to.
That's
the
very
blood
well
flow's
said.
Not there, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Like, that's one of the things I felt about it. And what, like, while I was watching these shows, I felt like as if maybe the novelty is worn off, and now I'm being like a lot more critical, because in the first season I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is everything I wanted for a while now, and blah blah blah. But now it's like I have some expectations for 3rd season. Like, I don't know, maybe having some freaking ground rules for going on away missions. It's very basic stuff.
You're right.
But it's like, you know, he's not doing any of these things. And then he did it twice. It was like, okay, it was in this episode, and then he did it again in the next episode. And it's all like very plot and character driven in that sense, because it's like, I'm doing this because I want this thing to happen with this character.
Yeah.
I don't really care what else happens in the background, but I want this thing to happen with this character, and therefore this is why I'm doing this the way I'm doing it. There's no other reason than doing it that way.
I have to say the first 3 episodes were a little, and then you get into like Gently Falling Rain, and that's where I feel like it starts really moving. And
by the way, in this episode, I agree with you, Scott, but in this episode too, like, I was like, of course they gotta kill this guy. Like, there's no other way of going about it. Like, you have to kill him. Like, he's been compromised. Because of course,
once I saw that, you're done, bro.
Like, he becomes an alien, of course, because he got sprayed in the face, and he's just
that's how they breed.
Their
through
DNA
essential
is
assault. Through assault.
So now it's like, you know, he becomes this freaking thing, and he's
Admiral
like,
Q, walk through this door. Oh no, it was the airlock. My bad. No, bye, Admiral. You're dead.
Right. But it, like, to me though, it was just so weird that they let him go, because I was like, okay, well, I mean, I understand that they're trying to maybe set up a follow-up season or episode or whatever.
Another threat.
Another threat, like another potential threat. But this is too big of a potential threat, because this guy literally knows, like, he's an admiral. He knows all of their secrets. He knows all of their codes. He knows all of their information. Like, every single thing that you could possibly imagine about the Union, this guy knows. And is now an alien that remembers things because he remembered Claire.
Towards the end, you start realizing that there's a bridge between what he remembers and the savagery of the alien species. So, and it's like, because on Star Trek: The Next Generation, this is similar to the episode in I think season 3 or 4 where Geordi gets kind of rebred and turned into an alien that's like on the infrared or the ultraviolet spectrum, so he's invisible and you have to use special beacons to find him. That's essentially what they're kind of doing here, but they don't save the Admiral. They don't save all the other characters that people really, the minor characters that people liked. They got turned into this species thing,
right?
And there could have been something there where they did save them, and that's when the ship gets surrounded by the rest of the species. Be like, hey, you kind of took our children. It's like, no, you took our people to make your children, and then you have that kind of dichotomy, and then they have to get the heck out of Dodge.
Well, and that's the other thing, Script, that you just brought up, because that's what I was wondering at the end of this episode. I was like, what the hell happened to the rest of the crew? Because he basically changed like almost all of the crew, and it was like, okay, like who's running the ship now? Like basically the only people that were left were the senior staff, and I was like, okay,
yeah, there was a lot of them, right? Like the Asian.
They didn't even talk about it.
I felt bad. The Asian nurse, like I liked him, and like there was a couple others.
The Asian nurse too, and he was he's like a monster now.
Yeah,
and
he might still be on the ship. You never even know.
Oh my god. But yeah, like that, and they're all gone. Nobody acknowledges that. Like basically, like all the crew, like did they get recrewed? Did they have to go and like resupply? Like like it's just like all of a sudden it's like the ending is like the doctor's like having lunch with like all these people around, and I'm like, I thought you guys all changed into monsters. Like what happened? Like this was like the ending scene, and then she's like, come and have dinner with me, like or whatever, and he's just like, okay. And that was pretty much it. And I was like, what? This episode made absolutely no freaking sense.
Yeah.
Jerk off for 5. So the joke was that she had to bring Isaac back to life against her will. Well, yeah.
That's a joke.
I don't see that as a joke, but
okay.
I guess.
Great name though.
I love that name. Yeah.
Great.
200 Watt Studios for 2 says Sporking knows what I'm saying. Knobby feet things.
What were we talking about at that part? But I'll agree with you, 200. I'm with you.
201 Studios.
Oh, the
talking
spokey,
about
the sport.
Yeah.
The spiky. I mean,
the spiky creature. The sporky creature.
There's a new species, the sporks.
Oh my god. That was so funny. Okay.
Thank you, 200 Watt.
Yeah, 200 Watt Studios, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so final thoughts on this episode. I thought it was trash. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think there was their attempt at a horror episode and getting her and Isaac back together by killing or turning her ex. I don't know. It was not something I cared for.
It was. I like the concept of the alien species. I don't know if they nailed the introduction and the threat properly enough. I mean, I like the idea of a biological take on the Borg, where they basically steal people and rewrite their DNA for their own, and turn them into kind of like mindless drones for their own.
George is a giant slayer.
Sorry. I like that too a lot. I like that idea, but I just thought they did they kind of dropped.
I don't think they understood what they were going for, or what they had in their coffers.
George just gifted 20 memberships.
20 minutes.
Wow, what a man.
Way to go, George.
George.
Oh my god.
George is blowing up, dude.
George's
Lord of the Rings is insane.
I know. I got to watch his new video. I haven't seen it yet. But everybody, check out George the Giant Slayer. Scott, do you have a wrench? Please drop George's link in the chat for all the peoples. Make sure... Does George the Giant Slayer do live streams? He hasn't quite started, but he hangs out here a lot of times. He would have been here tonight, but he has family issues. Well, not issues, but they're actually really good situations because he has a new nephew and he's helping his sister with the newborn baby.
Yeah.
So family comes first. But usually he hangs out with us on Sunday nights. Yep. So we miss you, George. Thank you so much. The Summer of George.
It is. He's almost at 20,000 subscribers.
I'm super excited for him. He
I am
deserves
too.
every single one. He
does.
He has a lot of good takes on the Lord of the Rings stuff, which, by the way, we will be reviewing on this channel every Sunday night. So George is going to be hanging out with us as we review them episodically Sunday nights. There we go. George says he will be doing it once he hits 20K, and we'll do a first live stream then. Yay!
God,
There
if
you
I waited
go.
to 20K, I wouldn't do one until 2030.
Yeah, your son would probably be going to college.
I know.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
20K.
You just got to start doing some Lord of the Rings stuff. Oh, wait, you're going to be doing a House of Dragon stuff, right?
Yes, House of Dragon stuff starts not this Monday, next Monday.
Well, there you go.
Nice.
Maybe your channel is probably going to blow up too, Scott.
That'll be
'cause,
fun.
That's like, all over the place right now.
That is my thing.
Back to the Orville, though, everybody. So we're going to go to episode 3 now. Episode 3. Which one was that one?
That's
that
the
was
boring one on the planet.
Yeah.
The boring one on the planet.
Yeah, they go to a planet and then they're just jumping from various different types of realities. Like, oh, they're back in a high school, and
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, they're
right.
on an airplane and
This one. And
what
so
was the point of this
very
one?
it was a
end-
follow-up to the species that
Yes.
worshipped Kelly.
It was
Oh,
the
that's right.
ending. Yeah, it was the ending that was the most important part of this episode.
That's right. That's right.
But yes, so script doctor basically just explained what happened.
The whole thing.
Yeah, so the ship, the crew, I should say, they're supposed to pick up this girl at the at a rendezvous point because she's like away. By the way, she's growing on me in this season. I gotta say,
No,
I love her.
liked Yeah.
Love her.
she's definitely growing on me much more.
She's a cool chick.
Yeah, I'm starting to really like her, except for the fact that she's never showing her other ear. Like, I don't know why that bugs me, but it's like, dude.
Is there something wrong with it?
I think there's something insecure about her on that, and it's unfortunate they didn't explore it. But
you know what? You could own that. Like, let's say she's got like a really jacked up ear, like she's got like it's fucked up.
she's got a
looking or
human ear on
something.
one side.
Well, you
Mouse.
could make it like if like maybe like her points, like her like pointy or whatever has like been ripped off or something. But you could make that like a combat thing. Like she can be like scarred.
Well, that's what I thought too. Yeah.
You know,
And she
like,
never got it properly, like surgically corrected or anything, because she wanted to quote unquote own it, but at the same time she didn't want to make other people uncomfortable with looking at it all the time.
Yeah, but now at this point, it's like every single day her hairstyle's the same way, and that bugs me. I'm like, dude, no, girls don't do that. Girls don't do the same hairstyle every single day. It's just not happening.
Man, they do cycle it every few months.
Right. So anyways, the episode starts with her coming back onto the ship because they go and pick her up at this rendezvous point, and then they, they're like, oh my God, let's we're fine, everything's okay, and she's back and she's fine, and then all of a sudden it's like they go to this planet to explore something. I forget, they had a signal or something like that. I remember.
Yeah,
what
some sort of
exactly
distress
happened.
signal, and
Yeah, it was a distress signal. That's
the
what it was.
layout of the planet just keeps changing.
Yeah.
Right, and then again, here's the away team. So you got freaking Bordis, you got the captain,
One,
you
2,
got
and 3.
the freaking this chick, you got this chick, dude. Not everybody needs to go to every away mission, okay?
That's
You
your
just
top 4
lost
right
an
there.
Admiral, okay?
Yeah.
I don't
the captain
understand.
and the 4 more senior officers.
Yeah, that's your top 4 and your best pilot right there. That's
Right.
insane.
Like, if I was going to pick the away mission for this one, I would have said, okay, the commander is going to take the pilot, because he's the pilot.
Bill the dishwasher.
If the commander is going to lead this away mission, you're going to take your strongest fucking security officer and your pilot. Done.
And 2 other orange shirts.
Right.
And sure, 2 other randos, like 2 other orange shirts. You stay on the ship. Like that. This is you're useless on this mission. Like, I don't understand why they would even go. Then, of course, they do, like that. That, as always it happens, something goes wrong, and then they need like the next freaking team to come. So this time it's like it consists of the doctor,
and Isaac.
Isaac, and what's it called? And two randos,
The two
which
that should have left in the first place.
should have been in the first away mission. Like what? Hold on. I'm just trying to get this.
Al Bundy says it best. Red shirts were invented for this.
Exactly.
They really were. They were
And
invented for
literally
this
are
reason.
wearing red shirts right here. There's two
Yeah.
randos, and you got the doctor, and you got like this dude. So like technically the second away team should have consisted of Bortus, this chick, and the other,
And then the two randos.
and the two randos, and Isaac.
Yeah.
And then that's it. The captain stays on the freaking ship. I don't understand why the captain just decides to go everywhere all the time. It's like, no, you're the captain of the Orville. You need to stay on board. And if he wants to be like that type of captain that like is a go-getter, like he wants to like go everywhere and do everything, you make that part of the progression of his character. And you talk about like how he argues with the commander, let's say, about going down to the planet. Like, you shouldn't be going down, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we don't get any of that. So anyways, they go through like this weird situation where at first they show up, they find a high school. They're in a high school. The dude, Gordon, he gets beaten the shit out of by these bullies, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, kind of weird.
Yeah, but then the guy he owes money to is this massive monster.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
He owes money, but then he owes money to this monster. It turns out to be this alien, and he's killing
like
everybody.
3 o'clock high.
And you realize that the basically like it's an illusion, but you can get hurt in the illusion. So, because like he's like bleeding and everything like that, so like you could die.
It's going out. It's just a rancor coming after him. Really, that's what it is.
Yeah, it was a. Yeah, I guess so. And then. So basically, all this leads up to the end where they figure out that the girl they went to pick up wasn't actually the girl. She turned out to be this weird freaking creature.
Like God.
A transhuman, basically like a computer melded with an organic.
Like, they moved so far ahead. This is what...
That they've merged with
technology.
And they don't die. And the entire point of this episode was for this species to understand what it feels like to approach death, because they've lost that ability.
So they picked the woman that they used to worship. Like, that's what I found kind of dumb.
Yeah, they picked the character that they used to worship.
Like, thanks for putting... Yeah,
they're like, let's go fuck with her.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Like, Kelly was the reason we've moved so far into this world and so far into the future. Let's just go fuck with her and maybe kill her.
Yeah, but what I found the most irritating was the dialogue, and this is one of the dialogue parts that I thought Seth MacFarlane's like leftiness was completely coming through. And like his basically like weird lefty agenda about like transhumanist bullshit that I fucking can't stand.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was the line where she said something like, like if you guys want to evolve past like whatever it is that you're evolving, the organics, yeah. Because she was like, oh, evolution is not even like, because she was so arrogant about it too, and she's like, well, and it's not technically, it's not even a she, because I'm misgendering her. She was like, we've gone past sex.
She's got
like,
boobs.
blah, blah, blah. She's got boobs. She
And a
sounds
booty.
like a girl. Like,
Yeah.
like she was a fucking total girl. And then she's like,
I'd hit it.
oh, and then she goes, if you want to if you want to go past these ideas of whatever, what you need to get past is titles like captain, husband,
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
man.
It made me sick.
That's it. Those were the three. Like, captain, husband, man. Like, and
All the
I
male
thought
ones.
all the male stuff, all the like the different.
It was definitely a female-centric season.
What about wife, Karen, and bitch? Huh, lady? Tell
Right?
me, those still exist?
Well, what? Like, I could, like, I couldn't. She could have said, captain, man, woman, or like captain, man, husband, wife. Like you could make these, because if she's trying to, or it's trying to say like that we're gonna get rid of our like
Individuality.
yeah, our titles and individual whatever, like that at some point we're gonna go past these things. Why did it have to be specific to
dads,
men, dads, men, and husbands? Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was really on the nose. I didn't like that. But other
It's
than that,
also a bad trope with regards to current age science fiction writers. Not many of the ones from the previous generation, but now they don't understand the concept that evolution is really a mutation by breeding. It's not something that just naturally, freakishly happens just because of the passage of time. Like we breed, and then a mutation occurs, and if that mutation is beneficial to the environment, like it better fits the environment than what else is around, and it fosters the more reproduction of that aspect of things, and it goes over and over and over, and it takes thousands of years before dominance becomes a thing. What they're showing here is like, oh no, we don't understand evolution. We think of it as like it's just more knowledge and then merging with technology, and that's not the thing. That's actually a very dangerous aspect. There's numerous stories of like, if some sort of billionaire company decides to give you free technology that you put into your body, or a free drink or something, it's really a scheme to manipulate and control you. I mean, and it's not understanding the distinction of like finding more technology and learning more about technology to improve life is not to replace humans with technology. It's like, oh, we found out that we build these nanobots, they can go and they can kill cancer cells, and then the nanobots die, and then you're back to what you were before you had the cancer, and before you had that's the concept of medical technology to make life better. It's not, oh, we're going to hook you up to the internet so that you don't even have to go to school. You just know all the information. It's like, well, you just robbed the humanity of the learning experience from that individual, because it's no longer an experience learned. It's basically just information uploaded, and you're conflating learning with memorization. And like that's dangerous. And that's why you have to be wary of that. And the same thing can be done with regards to like the parallels between transhumanism and religion are identical. It's basically saying that who you are is bad. Either you're bad and inferior because you're human, or you're bad and inferior because of original sin. And then only by following these two perspectives can you rise above it. And it really does abuse the concept of using technology to benefit people, and using like faith to help shape you into the person that you want to be without compromising who you are, or sorry, without hurting or contradicting aspects of who you are.
Yeah, and that's funny. All you need to know that it was a bad episode. I thought it was a terrible episode, to be honest with you. Like I just didn't like this whole like thing. I thought it was probably the most quote unquote woke episode as far as like wokeism goes, or whatever you want to call it. But it did pick up from here. Meaning the episodes got better and better after this. Because after the third episode, I was like, oh, like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
That's why I was waiting for you to get by it. I was like, okay, I'm waiting for her to get by it, because I know
the
she's
next
gonna.
episode is way better.
The next episode is one of the best episodes they've had.
Yeah.
One of them.
Okay, which one it was?
Gently
Falling Rain. Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Great
here
episode.
we go. That's the one. So we start on Krill, on episode 4. We start on Krill, and guess who's back? This chick right here.
Tala.
From
Tia.
teacher to spy to politician.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is what they consider the Trumpism episode, which
she's not Trump.
She's more Hitler, like she does like from the book of Hitler almost, like
I don't even think
not even Hitler. It's what's his name from Italy? No, Italy.
Mussolini.
Mussolini. She's
I
very
don't even
Mussolini-ish.
think that they're talking about her though when they say the Trumpian thing. They're actually talking about the dude. I think.
Oh, really?
He's the one trying to.
Well, he's doing reforms and stuff.
Because he's the one that's like, oh, like this wasn't done right. Like we're gonna have to recall or like recast this. Like I demand a recount or whatever. Like and it's just like the same ish that Trump was saying. So I think that's the stuff that they were saying like that.
See, I felt like he was Hillary. Like what the hell just happened?
I felt like there's a nice hybrid. Well, they took the abstract things of like the societal understanding of who is going to win an election, because there seems to be a more unified voice behind that, versus the uprising of a counter voice that doesn't feel like it's truly as big as it actually is, and that's very abstract. Like that's just the thing. The fact that people associated that between Hillary and Trump just shows that you know, on the science fiction level, they kind of hit a good mark.
Yeah.
But that type of episode, you could probably have done it back in the 70s with like Nixon and then Gerald
you're
Ford
right.
and then followed
Sure.
by Jimmy Carter and all that stuff. And you could probably show it, you know, another 40 years from now, and it would probably have more relevance for another country's political climate.
Because I also like how they showed like the fake news. Like their fake news is literally talking about like killing people, like the president or whatever, whatever they call him. What do they call their leader? Whatever. The something leader. He was like, yeah, I didn't do any of that, but that's just the news. You know,
Yeah, like that, oh, whatever. Like, yeah, that's just the
shows him like
wasn't it
killing
Chancellor? I
people.
don't know.
Chancellor, you're right. It's Chancellor.
But yeah, like that was really funny. Like the part where the fake news stuff, and it's like, oh my god, like this is terrible. It's like, oh, none of it is true. It's like it's all fake news. So again, and that was again another part that a lot of people equated with like what happened in the elections, the idea of fake news and the idea of how
Propaganda
like, you know,
and
propaganda, and all this
misunderstanding of
stuff.
populism.
So like those were again some important things, or interesting things that I think some people saw it to be a certain way, and I don't think that it necessarily means that. Just like what you were saying, Script Doctor, it could mean so many things, and you could like, you know, equate that to whatever political power is going on at the time, you know.
Well, like, because what we end up seeing here is we have, so Talea, I believe is her name, she wins the vote. And
Yes.
before the chancellor can call for a recall or an investigation, her
Fucking
people
kills
just go in and kill him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a coup. That is
That-
basically,
That is a coup.
it's a coup. And it's like, why would she do this? Why would the people do that? And it's because there's probably dissent within the traditional hierarchy of things, where they did not like that this current leader of the Krill was consorting with whom they think is the enemy by divine right. And so they themselves took advantage on the behest of Talea and everyone on her side of like, you know what? This is our chance to get back to what we were before we encountered the Union and before we started
Right.
talking with them. So we're just going to not even entertain the idea of an honest transition of power and just kill the guy who we know is lost and just leave it at that. I'm like, that is, I mean, on a writing standpoint, that is beautiful for a huge conflict. And it's something that we have not really seen in current years on the west side of things, but in other countries, things similar to that have happened.
A little bit.
Yeah, and this scene was actually kind of quite shocking because she like straight up like stabbed him in front of like all these people and like threw his body down. I was like, dude, what the like, this bitch just went like crazy. Like
she got her hands bloody. Yeah, like that's how committed she was to the cause, and that's how she was able to do that. And I know exactly why they made it this way is because of that thing that Trump said during his campaign. I could shoot someone in downtown New York and still win an election. Like that's exactly what they're trying to do there. But it's like they're doing this on a far more grandiose scale. Like she's holding a celebration for this. Trump's just saying like, if I was downtown New York, no cameras on me or anything, and I just did that, I'd still win. It's like way different context.
Oh, that was the Trump assassination fantasy, says Moons of Madness.
Probably
oh my
was too,
god. You know, but again, there's certain things about this that I can be like, well, I mean, it could be seen as this, or if you have no interest in politics and you don't actually know what's going on, that you will probably just be like, well, whatever, like it could be like anything, really.
Yeah, I thought it was a well done moment. Like you said, Script, I love how they just walked in and like he's just bitching, like he still can't figure it out, and she just kills him. Like I thought that was brilliant.
And it's hysterical because you got Bruce Boxleitner is playing the blue alien. So like good old Commander.
He's president.
He's the president of the
now
Union.
Yeah, Commander from Babylon 5 is now the president. You know.
Oh,
Tron
is
the
he?
president.
I didn't know that.
What? Really? I didn't know he was the commander from Babylon 5.
Yeah, he's the one that took over after
President Alcazan.
There he
Wow,
is.
Sheridan. Yeah, that's the name. I was trying.
He
to
looks nothing like he looks in real life. Wow.
Yeah, he's got a way different hairline.
Wow. I didn't even know
And
that.
then the one next to him, she's clearly like a Nancy Pelosi stand-in.
Oh my God, dude. Every time I saw
Every
her,
time.
I was thinking Nancy Pelosi. Like,
Yep.
I was like,
Same
why is
hairstyle.
she? She got that Nancy Pelosi hairstyle, is what's
Yep.
going on. I was like, dude, what the? But see, again, when I think of stuff like that, though, I think of that like about me, Nina, because I know these politicians, but a lot of these people, like if you're watching it, you don't know politicians, you probably won't see Nancy Pelosi in this lady like the way I did. But every time I saw her, I was like, oh my God, it's Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi in space.
Or KK.
or that, yeah.
No, different hair. Way
Yeah.
different hair.
Yeah, definitely different hair. Yeah, there she is again. There's
Yeah.
another shot of her.
She's just not drunk enough yet.
Let's go
That's
talk.
hilarious. So yeah,
I can dig a hole through China, so that makes us people.
oh
Sorry.
my God.
Sorry,
So
I'm
then
sorry.
he goes and he talks to, because they get captured because they were there as a delegation for peace and blah blah blah, like with the union, and then of course that guy doesn't win, and she's running all the whole flat platform of like basically, we can't make a deal with the union, and what they're trying to do is not right.
Take
and,
away their culture and identity.
yeah, and they kept saying like krill first, and that was the other thing. That was like the
Yeah.
America first thing. I was like, oh, come on now. But everybody says that. Everybody says
Yeah,
that.
someone said Germany first for a while there.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe
but
they're
I-
from Germany.
When I heard krill first, I was like, I kind of want to live there now.
Wow.
I felt like a white guy would have a good chance there.
Okay.
If that's
We're
where,
all white.
that's what I'm saying.
Wow. My goodness.
No, because people want to make it something. It's a good sci-fi show, people. Like, she went from, like Script said, from a teacher to a coup invading chancellor. Like, they created that. The Orville, and without trying, without meaning to, but because of their actions, created her. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Sheridan does become the president of Human Alien Alliance later on in the show.
Yeah, season 5, I think. I wrote that in your chat.
He's great. But yeah, it's, oh my God. Seth MacFarlane gives over 700 gauge Nancy Pelosi.
He did.
Wow.
That is money.
No comment.
He's from Cali.
But then, so they meet up because he's like, what the F are you doing? And all this stuff. Like, and then because
She's gonna kill them all.
she's threatening to kill them all. But then all of a sudden, as like, he's going somewhere, the people he's going with get shot. And then and then he gets kidnapped technically.
That
whatever.
was a
Like,
weird moment.
Yeah, because I was like, what the
he
heck
gets
is happening?
kidnapped by one group of people, then they die, and another group of people kidnaps him. Like, this is
So the ones
stupid.
that were kidnapping him the first time were from her people
From
taking
her
him
people.
off planet.
Yes.
Okay,
because he was supposed to get murdered, but she had given orders that he's to be saved. So you're supposed
Right.
to take him to his ship, to his little pod or whatever, and tell him to
Yep.
go home.
Right.
But then they got attacked,
right.
and then they died, and then they were like, you got to come with us, like, we'll give you answers. And then this was the answer. So like they freaking take him to this place, and it turns out that she got knocked up. She had a
Cross
baby.
species, baby. Bow, 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 wow.
Species,
And this
baby.
kid, which is supposed to be like 2 years old, looks like she's about 9.
Yeah, they grow
Right?
fast on krill.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, like, how is she this old?
They mature as
Because
fast as Mocklins.
that was really weird. Like, I was like, that much time has not passed. So it was kind of like, I don't understand why the timing is like this, but she looks kind of like almost like at least 5-6 years old. And
Yeah,
I was like,
she's
I don't
too
think
old.
that's that much
No, she
time
looks
has passed.
big. She looks like she's closer to 9 or 10.
Can I
Look
say-
how long those legs are?
Can I say I like her way more than Princess Leia, though?
You did? I couldn't tell because I'd never seen the other show, but
Oh, God, terrible.
but yeah, I mean, I thought she was cute. Like, she was a cute little girl. And it was kind of sweet that she was like, that he felt so connected to her. Like, afterwards, when he found out like he has a daughter, he was like, oh my God, I have a daughter. And that affected him a lot, because I think that he wanted to be a family man. Like, he's always
Yep.
kind of wanted that family aspect, and he wasn't able to achieve that with the other girl, Kelly.
Yeah.
So he's kind of always wanted that. And I think that it's kind of sweet that he got along so well with the little girl. I forget what her name was. Do you guys remember her name?
Something.
Anaya.
Anaya.
That was a nice name.
Anaya
too.
Twain.
Anaya Twain.
It is like Shania, yes, but just drop the sh.
Oh my god. I'm trying to like capture this one scene, but it can't. Okay, there it is. I finally got it. She's so cute. Look at her little face. Look at her little alien face.
She's adorable.
She's like a little human, but like little
No
krill
eyebrows.
human.
Yeah.
I know. Boosh says Nina makes me want to be a family man.
Oof.
Wow. Okay. Glad I have that kind of influence on you. Jerk off Juggernaut for 5 says, Scott, don't sound so jealous that she dug a hole of economic collapse all the way to China and you haven't.
I'll get there someday.
God.
I'll get there
Hashtag
someday.
goals, right?
Goals, baby. Hashtag.
Thank you, Jerk off Juggernaut, for that $5. So yeah, what did you guys think of this baby news drop?
Eh.
No thoughts?
It was there.
It was there.
I
I was surprised.
I was surprised that two species so different could have a child. She's like I don't know. In the moment of watching it, I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But like to think of like she could be easily a political pawn.
Mm-hmm.
She's always making them. I don't know how I'm going to feel about
She's
it,
like
but
the first Spock of the series, you know.
yeah,
That's
man.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I mean,
think about
the
that.
one
She
thing that
she
was
sees
kind of-
4D. You know, no, I don't
maybe
No,
I
she
don't know.
doesn't-
One thing
she
that was kind
doesn't.
of interesting is, well, I was hoping they would probably do is like you need to take her off this planet.
know. That's what I was hoping.
Because
That's what I was
if
thinking
anyone
too.
saw her, she would be executed. Which is actually quite in counter perspective to the following scene with regards to their philosophy on life. It's like, oh, it's a mutant, it's a horrible looking half-breed species. We'll kill it. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, okay, so that's your exception to murder a child.
Right.
Right.
That's the only exception. It's like if there's an exception, then you don't actually have any belief in your faith, which shows how Talea actually does fully believe in her faith because she did not find that to be an exception.
Yeah, like she didn't abort. And
No.
and that's the thing. Like and he was like, well, why did you keep it? Like he did ask. He was like, why did you keep it then? And she was like, because we actually care about life. I'm like, you
But
fuckers.
she's lying because she cares about the life, but everybody, because if she actually cared about it and the society believed her, if she presented that as her child, they would accept her, but they don't because
Right.
she's living in hiding. So you're seeing the hypocrisy with regards to the overall perceptive of or understanding of their faith. And Talea is like, no, I think I'm actually the truest of the truest, but I can't even be as true as I should be because the rest of the world will not accept it.
Yeah,
It's
because
like,
they will think like she's she's like a freaking half breed or something. Like they're
she's
not going to
pure
accept her.
krill, and therefore she is not entitled to life because she is she has a soul, but is also mixed with another species, right? Because only krills have souls according to them.
Right.
And-
Yes.
And it's like, because here's the idea, right? If a hybrid krill could exist, and krill are the only ones to have souls, then that means other species would have to have souls, or else that hybrid couldn't exist, right? So it completely
Sure.
shatters their faith of the whole concept of souls within the krill society.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's a lot of hypocrisy with that. And it kind of comes back around a little bit like later on. And I mean, I know we haven't gotten there yet, but I'm just going to share my thoughts on that because I'm sure I'll forget. But like, later on when she gets captured in the later episodes, and it's brought up that like, he's like, let me bring her to the Orville. Like, let me do that. And she was all like, free me and you can know, but like, otherwise you'll never see her again. And I was thinking to myself, like, but she didn't need you the first time to see her. Like
Yeah, people want her to see her. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I didn't
like
think of that.
somebody came to him and took him there because they didn't like how you were treating her, and they wanted her to be like outed. Like they want people to know about this. So like if he really wanted to, he could have found her and brought her on the Orville, which I think was a missed opportunity.
She looks like Kathleen Kennedy. I'm sorry.
What?
She looks like Kathleen Kennedy in that picture, that lady.
Oh, I'm seeing total Nancy Pelosi with
Yeah,
the
man, I'm
eyebrows
seeing
and-
Nancy Pelosi all over this place.
I think it's the love child of Nancy Pelosi and Kathleen Kennedy scissoring to love.
Oh, God.
You're
I
the
don't
first
want-
one to bring up scissoring.
I didn't want that image in my brain.
Oh, just think of
Scott.
it.
What
Think
the
of it.
fuck? I did think of it, and I didn't want to think of it. Damn it.
A little 40s music kicking, you know?
Oh my God, this is how I feel right now.
If it's clear and yellow, you've got juice there, fella. If it's tangy and brown, you're in cider town. Now, there's two exceptions, and it gets kind of
Oh, you can stay, but I'm leaving.
Can be yellow if they're using late season apples. And of course, in Canada, the whole thing's flip flop.
Canada.
That's my brain leaving after
Yeah.
freaking
Our apple
Scott
cider is
mentioned.
delicious in Canada.
While you're at it, make sure you subscribe because you'll hear so many great things like this on my channel, you pieces of shit.
Oh my God. Okay, so then the other chick saves the day again. What's her name?
Charlie.
Charlie!
Charlie saves the day again.
Yeah,
'Cause she's
she-
the bestest ever. That's her whole job.
I'm
on this
sorry,
freaking
your super
episode.
chat, Russell.
Wait, what? There's a super chat. Russell Hall for $2. Scissor me timbers, Nancy Pelosi. Oh God.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Isn't there like a Pitbull song of like Timber as well?
Maybe. All I can hear
Damn it,
my
Russell.
scissor me timber, Nancy Pelosi. Get in there.
No.
So which one's Blackbeard in that pair?
Oh God. Wow. I would say Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, she definitely dies. What?
Oh my God. This was a cool scene, although everything is like pretty much green screen on this, but I like the ending scene. I also like the conversation they were having. And again, one of the things that, reminded me of was the idea that he wanted to have family with her and they couldn't. So it was kind of like this.
Because she cheated. Yep.
Yeah, with
Yes.
a blue alien, but might have been. See, to me, that's like the blue alien thing. I don't think I said it last week. Like, almost like it's a rapey thing reverse because like the hormones got her one. It's like she was drugged.
I still don't think that was the case.
She's a slut.
I think she's just a slut.
Yeah.
But I mean, personally.
Yeah.
Okay.
God,
Everybody's talking about scissoring now.
You're welcome.
God damn it. Okay, so next episode. This was a good one, though. I really enjoyed that episode. I thought it had a lot of good action. It had suspense. It had reveals. It was a much needed great episode after a 3 kind of not great to subpar episodes. And I was like, oh no, season 3 of the Orville is going straight down the freaking crapshoot. But then they were like, no, here we are, we're good. Here's the episode. We're still okay. And then the next episode is episode 5. And it's which one is this one? Again, another good one.
Tale of Two Topas, yeah.
A Tale of Two Topas. So now this is when we start to talk about, we're circling back to Topa's storyline of her being transitioned against her will.
Yes.
By
Not even against her will,
species.
without her knowledge at all.
Well, that's true. It would be without her knowledge. Oh, and again, guess what? Charlie is the bestest ever. Again in this episode, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yep.
And then somebody actually mentioned because she was like, "Oh, I'm so good at this," and everyone was like, "Oh, is there something you're not good at?" And she's like, when I want to be good at, when I'm interested in something, I put 100% in everything I do." And I'm like, "Girl, it's not quite how human beings work, but okay." But yeah, she was the best at archaeology and paleontology and everything. Because at the beginning of the episode, they're they find this kind of treasure trove of a bunch of stuff from a species that was 7,000 years ago or something like that.
And
But
liked
had died
Batman,
out.
because you can tell
Yeah.
the Batman gauntlet there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's when
and
Batman
they-
begins.
they had died out, but then
It is, right?
Yep.
Which one?
That is the Batman Begins gauntlet. I thought so. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it actually or no?
Oh yeah, it's a raw
yeah.
cast of it. Yeah.
Wait. I need a better angle now. What are you guys talking about? The gauntlet?
Well, it was in that picture
Got the scallops, the little
between
spikes
Charlie
on
and the
wrist.
guy in the green. It's standing up.
Oh my God, you're right. Wait. I have a better. Hold on, I have a better angle. I'll grab it in 2 seconds. One of the things I gotta say about this show that I really, really like actually is how many alien species there are and their makeup and stuff like that. Like this dude right here, like he looks so cool.
Yep.
There's
Yeah.
the gauntlets.
Yep, that's clearly was
That's
Christian Bale's forearms.
I said that
funny.
to somebody. I'm like, is that what I think it is? And
I
one of
didn't catch that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. But yeah, like he looks so cool, like this alien dude.
Yeah, they definitely. Another thing like Star Wars does not do anymore is show aliens, and
Yeah.
there are so many aliens in this show, like, and they're always so unique, which I really like.
Because I feel like both Star Trek and Star Wars have gone back to like, oh, let's talk about like the complexion of human skin versus like let's showing all these other different alien species that nobody gives a shit about race anymore. But it's like for some reason we've gone back to caring about race for the human species in Star Trek and Star Wars. But in this show, it's not like that. There's still very much heavily focused on alien species and stuff like that, which I really do like. But yeah, so Charlie's the best at everything. And then
Looks like Scott. Thanks, MJuke84. I wish I had that color.
We see Topa again, and Topa is kind of like doing
She wants to be an officer.
She wants to be an officer.
Like her
She
dad.
wants to be an officer like her father. She's doing like drills in the simulator. And she starts having a conversation with the not the captain, I'm sorry,
Kelly,
Commander
right?
Kelly, Commander Kelly, and starts to kind of get along with her. And Commander Kelly, of course, knows what's going on with Topa. I thought the boy version of Topa was really like quite clearly a girl. Like,
yeah, of course.
Like,
They just
I mean, they
lowered her
change
voice.
actress. Yeah, they change actresses, actor to actor, or whatever you want to call it. Because there was a different Topa that was a boy. And now Topa, he was beating up on kids at school. And now Topa's like 10 years older and with a deep voice.
Is a girl with basically a voice altering post.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's so terribly obvious that it's not a natural voice in any form.
Right.
wait, let me like. Are you guys serious though? Like, was he a boy before? Like,
Oh,
did they
it was a
change
different
the
actor
cast?
altogether.
Yeah, I think it was a younger boy was playing.
There's an episode where Topa was like beating up on girls in school.
Season 2. Yeah.
Yeah, season 2, and it's a completely different actor.
It's a
That's
different actor?
definitely
Okay.
younger.
I didn't realize this.
No.
I thought that like they just cast like an older kid, and then I was like, that's clearly a girl, like with
Yeah.
like the worst voice.
Yeah. Modulator.
Like she's
How do I do this? I'm trying to be a man.
yeah, she's
I don't-
talking like this.
I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm in my right body or something, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, maybe because you're a chick.
Well, like she feels like she doesn't want to live anymore. Like that's the thing that's kind of
That was
Yeah.
powerful.
'Cause she's
Talking
so
to
lost.
Isaac about it too. Like,
Yeah.
That was interesting.
ooh.
And again, these are the parts like of the series that really actually this part actually like bothered me a little
Yes.
bit because no, in a sense it bothered me, Scott, of when he shows up to talk to Captain Grayson like after the fact. And he goes like, and again, see, this is what I mean by they use these kind of stuff as plot points,
Mm.
to kind of like carry the story on, but they don't actually know what they're doing, because like in this instance, like he goes and talks to this Kalon dude. It's Isaac.
Isaac, yeah.
I'm so bad with names.
I'm the same.
No, that's fine. Please correct me every time I'm struggling. So he goes and talks to Isaac, or I should say, she's going to talk to Isaac about how Isaac just tried to commit suicide, and she wants to know like what happens when you die, and like how Isaac felt about being relifed again, or like coming back to life and everything like that. Like, do you hate that? Do you regret that? So then right afterwards, Isaac goes to the commander to report this incident, because apparently, according to him, it's part of the Union protocols for him to come and speak to her about this. And I'm like, oh, so if we finally get some freaking protocols, but we don't have protocols about away missions or taking like the entire senior staff on every single away missions, but we have a freaking protocol for, well, if somebody's talking about suicide, you better go and report it. Like, this is what I'm talking about, where there's no structure, but then there's like, oh, for plot relevance, we'll just throw in, oh, this is Union protocol. Really? Like, when was this a fucking protocol? I've never heard this before until now. I feel like we should know the Union protocols as the audience by now.
I mean,
the third season.
Right. After he tried to off himself, I guess. I almost felt like he used, like, it's another way of showing he's more human than he realizes, because he uses that as a reason to go talk to her about it.
No, but that would mean, that means extremely less human, meaning like he's just following a protocol. He was told this.
I know.
A equals B, and therefore A, like, I need to do this because this happened, and and therefore I need to. That's actually a very robotic thing. I need to follow.
I was almost hoping he used it as an excuse in a way, but I guess you're right.
No, Isaac had no real feelings with regards to this. What I do like later on is what Bortus does, and that's actually kind of like endearing, because you can tell that he still loves. Yeah, he genuinely loves his child.
Yes. You mean the code, right?
The code, yeah, because Kelly doesn't commit to that.
Oh, right.
She feels it's not her place, and she's right with regards to it, but she wanted to give a hint, just to direct Topa into the realization that maybe there's something else going on, to try and give her some consolation, but she just couldn't flat out say it. And I like the relationship because Topa admires Kelly. Topa doesn't know why. And every time they get close together, a little bit of Kelly dies, because she's looking at someone who she let down when she was an infant, and rightly so. She had a terrible argument for her case, and and Topa is struggling, and she's seeing the signs of issues, and she doesn't know exactly what to do, and it comes to the point where even Clyden gets really upset with her, because, like, you're trying to destroy my family, and Clyden used to be a woman. So when Kelly kind of schools him in combat, I'm like, yeah, I can buy that, because he's technically
a bitch.
Hey, I could buy that too, because see, again, like, that's not a Mary Sue thing for me at that point, because she is a military trained officer. She's a commander.
Oh, hell yeah.
She's been in combat. She knows how to take care of herself. And
she is definitely not a Mary Sue.
No,
she has too many
very well
flaws.
built up for this.
Yeah, she is.
I enjoyed that scene, actually, because I was like, yeah, bitch, like, freaking shut the fuck up.
You know, she worked hard to get there when you had that Kelly 7 years prior episode. Like, she worked hard to become the person she is.
Yes.
And yeah, I hate what they did with him. Like, the last couple episodes, he was like that fun Clyden again. Like, I hated how, I don't know. He was such the...
He was so he's terrified to lose his family, but forgetting what the family entails. Like, that's
right.
Yeah.
Getting confused with, family and, I don't know, social crap. I don't know. It just pissed me off.
I can understand it, because I think that on some level, we're kind of going through that collectively as well. Like, especially in the United States, like, recently. Like, one of the things I noticed, actually, like, if we're going to start comparing like politics to this show, like, one of the things I noticed was that, like, when Trump was running for president, like, one of the things you would often hear is like, I'm disowning my kid because they're gonna vote for Donald Trump, or I found out my kid's MAGA, so I'm disowning my kid,
or
whatever.
Me so sick.
Like, that kind of stuff was terrible, but at the same time, it kind of shows you how crazy someone can get fundamentally if you have fundamental problems, like in your society, or if you have these kind of like extreme points of view. Like, as someone who comes from a country that had extreme points of view, like Iran, like, I can kind of see where fundamentalism takes you, because it's kind of like you just don't see anything anymore. It's kind of like a sacred cow. Like you just cannot go past certain things. And for Clyden, this issue was his sacred cow. Or her sacred cow. I don't know how to gender Clyden, because Clyden was a born
He's a
female,
dude now.
but he's now a dude.
Shim is the pronoun. S-H-I-M.
Shim. That's right. Shim. So then what happens after that? Okay, then
so she finds out. Yeah,
Chopa
she finds out.
She's searching the computer database. It's locked. She can't get in, and then all of a sudden the password just comes to her.
Yeah. And it was Bortus that
I
sent
love
him
Bortus,
the
man.
password.
Yeah, Bortus is the man. Like
he really is. He is such a man. Like
I will say this with regards to him being a man or not,
because I was in the very last episode though.
Well, I mean, I was a little disappointed in him. In like not okay. Let me clarify, because look, I understand that this is like very like he's very heavily affected because he loves his kid and like all this stuff. But you've often said, Script Doctor, that Bortus is kind of like a very masculine man. Like he's kind of like the epitome of masculinity in this show. And I feel like
season 3 definitely was, but
he was, right? Like, and I feel like in this episode they kind of a little bit like demasculinized him, because he goes to have a conversation with Commander Grayson and then he starts bawling his eyes out. And I feel like it was a little bit of a miss for me. Like that scene was a little bit of a miss, because I feel like someone who's that masculine wouldn't be so open with his feelings around an alien woman, because she's still a woman. And
but he doesn't see her as
culture,
one. He doesn't see Kelly
but
as
he's
one.
brought up with that thing, so he would still like. I would think that he would still be a little bit more reserved.
I disagree.
I think it would have been.
I disagree also, because we have that guy, a fellow Canadian in British Columbia, who was arrested for trying to save his kid, and he was in tears.
I think it would have been more interesting for Bortus's character, though, to like have this conversation, kind of like, and then show us that he's emotional, but not cry in front of Kelly and then leave and cry by himself. I think it would have been
good.
That would have given you that good,
impactful as such a masculine character for him to be like he's going to be stoic and he's going to be like whatever in front of Kelly.
Yeah.
But when he's alone, he's going to feel all those emotions and be like crying like this. And I think that would have like
today's masculine though. He sees Kelly as a peer and as actually he looks up to her, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he allowed himself to break down in front of her, because he couldn't, years of this built up, and I think it just finally, he could not hold it anymore. So I think I would have liked the way what you said, but it didn't bother me that he cried in front of her, because it was just so much hit him out all at once that, he's not John Wayne, I guess.
I'm not saying that he shouldn't.
No, you hate
cry.
men. You hate men.
No, I'm saying he should. I'm not saying he shouldn't cry.
No, I like what you think. I thought it would have been better.
Else. Like,
I think that would have been better.
Big, I'm sorry, but I'm
an ugly crier. You won't see me cry.
I know certain men that would the only way that they would cry in front of people is if somebody died.
Not even that. I'm walking. I'm leaving. Only Bambi or something like that. Other than that, I get choked up a lot, but you'll never. Nope. I will lock myself in a basement before you're going to see that happen.
That's what I'm saying. There's certain dudes that I feel like would never cry or show
that's just me.
Tears in front of people. And I feel like Bortus was that kind of guy.
But it's only one tear. That's why to me it was like he fought it as much as he could, and a tear.
But then he let it go.
Yeah, I guess so. He let it go. He's a pussy. What are you going to do?
No, he's not. I'm glad that he stood up for his kid and everything.
It's a great episode.
It was great.
Because everyone's like, this is the trans episode, and it's like, you think this is a trans, or even a trans going back? It's not. It's a child that was forced to pick. Parents picked the wrong gender, and this child finally gets to choose and be the person they're supposed to be. This has nothing to do with transgender. This is somebody who is intersectional that the parents picked the wrong. God, I'm using all the right terms. The wrong, gender.
Scott, I could see why people would see it like that. I mean, I think it was designed that way.
Yeah, but they're wrong.
But however, I think that's something that Seth really thought about, because again, I think that Seth is very much lefty when it comes to a lot of things. But I think that Seth is a very, very, very like original lefty. Like, he's not the crazy type of person that is like the new like hard lefty. So I think that what he tried to do with this kind of episode is this was his version of what is a woman. Like, I think that this is kind of like, at the end of the day, he's original lefty and he still believes in biology. I think that that's kind of like what he was trying to say, that at the end of the day, biologically, Topa was born a woman and they shouldn't have done what they did. Because they think, at the end of the day, he put his ideas, his own political leanings, and his own way of seeing things in this episode. And even though he's a liberal, I think he's saying that biology matters at the end of the day.
And children, we shouldn't be messing with children's sex.
With this thing, he's a little bit more on the traditional side of liberal back in the day, which is leave everybody alone, let them do their things, and if they ask for help, I'll be there to help them. But if otherwise, I'm not offering if I'm not interested. Because that's what it was.
I miss those days, man.
Yeah. Those are the days where like if you were an addict or something and you reached out and said, I need help, the liberal would be the first one to be like, okay, let's
the Republicans will just be like, you're a piece of shit back then. Now it's like the reverse. Now it's like, no, stay being a drug addict. We'll help you. We'll just keep you high. Don't worry about it. We're going to give you a little
you don't want to
of
be
heroin.
sober in this reality.
Yeah. And the Republicans are kind of like, okay, if you want help, we'll help you, but you have to ask. Like, I'm not trying to get political, but we have flip-flopped in this world, and people need to wake up to that. And I think Seth, because he's Hollywood, can't. So in his own way, this is him saying, I'm old school liberal.
That's exactly, Scott. That's what I thought. Yeah. He was like, hey, man, I'm still old school liberal. Like, I'm down with all that transhuman stuff, and maybe when we're all past it, we're all past like men and blah 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 and titles and
we ain't there yet, bro.
We ain't there yet. Until then, stop fucking around with babies.
Genitalia,
stop messing around with a kid's perspective that's still developing. Like, they don't know. Okay,
right.
I mean. Kids born in the 80s and 90s, they wanted either to be Barbie or a Power Ranger. Thank God they didn't try to make that a thing.
Yeah, right.
Because it's like, how many kids would be like, fighting each other in red, rainbow-colored costumes or trying to be every single job there is on the planet with a good income? Like, just not happening.
No.
I mean, I thought that this episode was really well done in that sense. Like, I thought that it made me gain a little bit of respect for Seth, because I had lost a lot of it recently, because his views on vaccines is very much not
hardcore,
the opposite of mine.
Yep.
But at the very least, I could be like, okay, well, at least he doesn't want to do that to kids, and he's not advocating children for it openly. So I think I could be fine with that. He easily could.
Well, if any message that is in all those Topa related episodes is that they need to be an adult to make those decisions for themselves.
Yes.
And it's like, that everybody can kind of be on that side. Like, I would not be surprised, if an adult said, yes, I want to do this, and the parents said, well, that's stupid. It's like, well, they're an adult and they can make their own decisions now. They're no longer the property of the parent, because in our society, the law states once you cross this threshold in age, you're legally on your own, so to speak.
That's right. So in this episode, what ends up happening is because they talk about it and they really want to help Topa, but the union says no, like you can't. Because we need the
Mocklins for weapons.
The Mocklins for weapons. We need to use them for weapons because we're at war. Blah blah blah. So
if any union doctor were to perform any surgery, the Mocklins would use that as a means to leave.
Right.
Right. Which, and rightly so, because I mean they're very kind of weird society with regards to that. So why would
They're
they?
basically a male feminist society.
Yeah, and then that's why we got another. This is protocol, which I like to see. Like the doctor couldn't do it, so I like how they do this, where everybody's in the same room, so no one can prove anything was wrong. Like no one told him to do this, Isaac to do it. I thought this was a good part.
So this is what happens. They kind of make this plan where Isaac's gonna do the surgery instead, and that idea came to me immediately, and I was like, why didn't Isaac just do it?
Because he's an emissary. He's not a union member or a union citizen.
Yeah, but then it also reminded me of the other episode though, like in I think it was season 1 or maybe 2. And I was like, see, this is like why it's so problematic, like these kind of things. But the episode where he was with the kids, and then he was like they had crashed into that planet or whatever, and he was sick, and he's like, I can't hear you, I need your mother, because I'm not like programmed with like medical blah blah blah. And like later on they said something like she said like, you trust me and my views of medical thing is better than yours, right? And he was like, yes. But now all of a sudden he's like a fucking amazing surgeon. He could do anything.
Well, I think he implied that he can download the operations and do it.
Right. That's basically what he was saying. He's like, if I wanted to, like, I could be anything, like, because I'm a fucking computer, which is believable. It's more believable than before, is what I'm trying to say, because he is a computer and he could do that. So then he did. He did this. He did it. He freaking
and broke Clyden's wrist or something doing it.
Oh my god!
That was awesome.
That was awesome too. Yeah, he like freaking he totally took down Clyden again. So Clyden got bitch slapped like twice in this episode.
Yeah.
And it was kind of glorious because I freaking can't stand Clyden. But then you get to see the little girl. She's actually a little girl, and she becomes who she becomes. And it was kind of very sweet,
Clyden
actually.
leaves, and then Borda says the thing every child wants to hear from the parents, like, you are perfect.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's a damn good dad, man.
Yep. And of course, the Lady Admiral berades the other two. I thought that scene was kind of funny.
Oh, the Stacey Abrams Admiral?
Yes.
Yeah. She's all like, I'm so mad at you, white people. Can't freaking follow orders. She didn't say white people. That was my addition. Okay.
I felt it though.
Did you feel it? Because I felt like
she's
it
like,
was
you feel so like you could do anything. And it's like, damn honkies, and it's like, oh.
I know. I felt like she was gonna say freaking honkies like any second now. Like I was like, oh my, come on now.
But I really felt like she was the one that was kind of like, I wish there was something you guys can do about this. And like,
I know, right? It was as if she was giving them all the freaking clues. She was like, as long as you do it off union property with not
as long as no union member is associated with it, it's like, if anything, the admiral would be like, on record, I have to reprimand you.
Yes.
The right thing was done. Like, that's how a reasonable person would have done it.
That's what I expected. That's what I expected her to do. Like, chew him out and then be like, off the record, good job, Whitey. Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, if anything, they'd be like, I'm not even going to entertain a fake chewing out. Just on the report, I chewed you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Clyden, as Joseph said, I did last week, Clyden is a Mitch. And he's still a Mitch, except for like the last 2 episodes of this season.
I know.
He was so adorable in those. Yeah, he's like,
oh,
like the clap.
I was like, damn it. Like, why did he win me over again? I wanted to hate you, but I can't now.
He was so Eddie Murphy. That was perfect.
Did you guys like the ending of this episode where she got to sit in the captain's chair? I thought it was sweet.
Yes. Yeah. It was adorable.
I thought
and I really like this actress. She's cute.
Yeah, she's adorable. And I thought this was adorable. It was a kind of like a, this is what you're working towards. Yes. You're going to get here. If you want to be a captain or a commander, you will sit here at some point. You just got to kind of go through all of this now. And she's very comfortable in her own skin.
Yep.
Finally, she's who she wanted to be the whole time. And with that, I think Scott has to leave us.
No, I was going to leave after the next episode.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, because the next one's like probably might be my favorite episode, yet it angers me too.
Okay,
because
because
there's a plot hole to it as well.
Yeah, there's a big plot hole. Okay, good.
Okay, so let's get into it. So the next episode, I see why it would be your favorite episode. I wanted to kill myself after this episode. I hated it so much.
First of all, I'm a huge Scott Grimes fan. I think the guy is hilarious, and I really dig What's Her Name too.
Well, I mean, I'm a huge
Liam
fan.
Yeah, woo.
Big time
Like
Liam
her.
Neeson fan. But oh my god! And then of course, by the way, Charlie's the best at everything ever again, which was kind of very fucking annoying. And,
Can I say I didn't catch Johnny Knoxville and Jack McBrayer in this episode at all, and they're in it?
They are?
What?
Yeah, I'm looking at the people that were in this.
Yes, they're on the television show. They're in the sitcom that they're
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Johnny Knoxville has white hair now.
Yes, now you're right. Okay, I forgot about that. All right, when they're watching TV with the families watching
Fake
TV.
sitcom,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh man, I totally forgot about that scene. Okay, so first of all, though, I have to say I did like her top. God damn it, I liked something about her.
I
her
see
fashion
why
sense.
Seth digs her.
I know she's very, very beautiful.
Yeah, she is.
But so this whole time she's like talking about like different things, and then Isaac's trying to get to her to notice her and like her and all this stuff like that. Again, it made no sense to me though that Isaac would try to do this because he's so kind of like he's not emotional. Why would he want her to like him? Like it's kind of like really weird for me that they would even
to try and
go that
boost
route.
efficiency around the ship because those two don't work well together, and maybe if he could bridge that gap, they would work more efficiently. But it's a very difficult thing to grasp onto because we haven't seen the two working together and there'd be a problem as a result.
Right.
Do you guys think they were trying? I thought before the last episodes they were working on making them two a couple.
Charlie and Scott Grimes?
Yeah.
Oh
no, because Seth doesn't let the.
I know that.
dating
That's why. But when they were singing everything, I was like,
kill her off. He was like,
make
no.
her a scissor.
Oh my god. So
Anyways.
then what happens is what happened?
Well, they're experimenting with the time device from the pilot.
Yes.
With the sandwich, right?
Which
This is
I
the
thought
episode.
was
a great thing. Scott gets a sandwich sent 3 months in the future.
That was freaking awesome, dude. I love how they didn't forget about that.
But that was freaking retard because
It was
it's
brilliant.
like, dude, you don't fuck around with time.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
Like to send fucking sandwiches back.
The sandwich
and
was
forth
brilliant, though. I'm
It
sorry
was
because I
hilarious, but you don't do that.
I totally forgot about it until that last episode. I was like, oh, brilliant.
You're supposed
brilliant.
to, yeah. He's like
they have
happy.
protocols
He's like, I'm gonna be
for
so happy
certain
when this
things,
comes
but they
back.
don't have protocols for this. Like that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did you say, Script Doctor?
Well,
We were talking about the sandwich.
It was the sandwich. Like he says, "Oh man, when that sandwich comes back in 3 months, I'm gonna be so happy."
And he was. It made
Yeah,
him so
but
happy.
you know what's so funny is like I didn't think that they were going to do it the way that they did it. Like I thought they were going to bring back like the sandwich at the end of the episode, and then they
Right.
kind of brought back like later on.
The end of the series.
Yeah,
But
it was like the last
weird
episode. It was so
because
good.
again, it didn't make any sense in terms of like the timing. Like you know how like in the previous episode we're talking about like how many years passed since like they were together because that kid looks like 10 years old and she's
Right.
like he's supposed to. be
They were
supposed to be,
together
like,
7
2.
years.
7.
That was 7 years ago.
He was there 10.
He was there 10.
No. I'm talking about in the previous episode when we were talking about the Krill baby, like you know,
Oh,
how
right,
she
right,
looked
right.
like she's like 10 years old or whatever, or even
It was, like,
Clyden's
2
kid.
years. Yeah.
Oh, they jack these kids up like it's a soap opera.
Yeah, so like I'm like the time lapse doesn't make any sense because I thought that they had already gone through 3 months. Like when
Oh,
the
yeah, definitely.
sandwich returned, like I
Yeah.
thought it was like a few years later, not like oh it's been 3 months. Here's the sandwich. I was like what? Like that timing makes no freaking sense. Like so many things have happened.
Yeah.
Like
It
makes no
was
sense
a
that it would be
full
3
3 months. It was a very full 3 months.
right? Like
Yeah.
literally like every day there's something going on. Like
Well,
there's a war
Technically,
this,
every
peace
every
that.
episode is a month in Orville time passing. So that's why we kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
Is that
But
what
like,
happens?
yeah, I mean, he does a sandwich, and then he gets when they get
Zapped.
ambushed by the Krill
Mhm.
and they escape, he gets sent back in time to the year 2015 on
Yep.
Earth,
Yep.
Mhm.
and he sends a message, and so they try to go back, and they're off by about 10 years.
Yeah.
And they find that Scott's been
He broke the law.
Well,
he broke the law.
Well, there was one thing that he had lived and died on Earth.
Yes,
that was
yes.
one, and it basically introduces the idea of like the idea that there's different timelines. So in one timeline, he lived and died on Earth.
Yes.
We don't really know anything else about that timeline though, because like we didn't know if he was married to Leighton Meester or not in that timeline, right?
Well,
maybe
they only
wasn't.
found him. They didn't do any more of a research at
Right.
that point. And they said that time's still in flux on their end, so they don't know what's going to happen yet.
Right.
They don't know if they're going to be erased or whatever because stuff is in flux. All they know is that they have to go back and get him because he doesn't belong there, and also because the message said, "Hey, I miss you guys, so call for help." But when they do go back there, they find he's a pilot. He's got a great life. He's got a wife, a kid, and another one on the way.
Yeah.
And they're really upset with him. But
dude, it's so like just dry too. They just are like, you gotta end this. We're taking you with us. Like that's what bothered me. It was
That's what bothered
Yeah.
me too. I was like, I don't understand this episode. Where's the empathy?
There
Like,
was no empathy.
And
it
the
was
other part,
anger.
too, is they were thinking, we're going to take you now. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, no, the damage is done by 10 years. You can't
Yes.
take them now.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then the other thing is they reject the idea that, oh, okay, we'll
Let
take
me take
you
them with,
and my
which
wife
they
and
should have.
kids, which you think would be some, well, here's the thing, right? So in the episode that introduced that character originally, he's seeing the 2015 version of her in the holodeck area.
Yes. Yes.
And then he goes back to 2015 and waits 3 years.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means that at the end of that original episode, you find out, oh yeah, she got back together with her on and off again boyfriend from 9 years back in 2015. But then on the story that she tells Kelly and Ed, it's like, yeah, I had just broken up with my boyfriend, and there's Scott Grimes' character in the bar, and he gets my music. 7 years later, here we are. It's like, oh my God, this poor woman has been with the same guy for like 12 years, on again, off again relationship, and never committed on either side. Yet she meets Scott Grimes' character, and immediately they get married, settle down on the opposite side of the country, and have a family and a kid they love. It's like those two are technically soulmates by a story perspective.
Yes.
Yes.
Because she was, who was going to be in a relationship that long without any commitment and not be miserable deep down?
Right.
Because clearly she was.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And
yet
all
they're
he
like,
wanted
"We're
to
gonna
do was
take
love
you
her.
away."
All he wanted to do was love her.
Yeah. And then now we're going to take Scott Grimes' character away, and then she's going to go back to that relationship or that cycle and maybe never have a family, maybe never have an impact.
Right.
Yeah, and the part that bothered me the most about it was the fact that they told him like that they were gonna do it. Like all of a sudden, it's like, okay, even if that's what you're gonna do, like you're like, why did you have to tell him that? Like all of a sudden, Seth is like, okay, we're just gonna go and erase you then. Like, you know, and it was like, okay, well, why did you have to tell him? Like, you
just be like, all right, we're gonna leave you here. Good luck.
bye,
Like,
good
well,
luck, you guys, and like just
you broke
leave.
the law.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's like, okay, so then they go do it, so they rub it in. They're like, we're gonna do it anyways. Like, fuck
Yep.
you, we're gonna
And
erase
he's
your
begging
ass.
them not to.
Yeah,
Oh.
and then afterwards they do it, and then they tell him they did it, and I was like,
And he
what?
was like, well, that was dumb of me to do any of that stuff. Like, he couldn't even imagine himself doing it.
Yeah,
Like, it was such a...
It's a form of indoctrination, don't you think?
Yeah,
I
it's
do. I found it very like
disturbing. Yeah,
I was like,
like,
what the hell? Like, this
there
is
should be a
not
part
cool.
of him that, like, I had a life with her, and
Yeah,
you
there
guys
should
took that from me?
It's like from the guy who's like says, I've never dated anyone that wasn't interested in me first. Like
Right.
that's his life in the future. And he goes back to the past and he finds one chick that, yeah, he's interested in first and then woos her, seduces her, wins her over, and they have a loving, stable relationship. It's like, yeah, dude, that is something special. And the only time he ever found it was in the past and not in his present. And it's really sad because
And when he's
they're-
begging them, dude, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when
Oh,
he's
no.
begging them not to go, like, I feel like, could that be now an alternative line? Did they fix it? Could this come back around to bite them again? Did he live a life with her? Like, I don't know.
I
No,
think it has a
because-
potential to. Why not?
definitely had the potential to, but the thing is that they're playing on the idea, at least in the Orville, that there's a singular timeline that if you
Yeah.
go back into the past, you definitely affect the future. You don't split it off. And so what they've essentially done is they've erased it. And then you also have a very half-assed approach to Kelly and Ed saying, we are the reason why two people no longer exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're fine with it.
Like they killed two babies.
They claim to not be fine with it, but you can tell that they're like the greater good. And I'm like, that is a damn
well, and
terrible
that's just the thing
methodology.
too, is that you guys gotta understand that they're just doing it to him, right? Like, but there was plenty of other babies born too, like people we don't know about, like personally. So technically, they actually got rid of a whole like a billion
family.
people, like billions of families, you know,
A
because
family line of 400 years of a family line.
Yeah, like you know, I mean, when you create a time, this is why I don't like time episodes that like mess around with time as much as they did with this. Like that's why I didn't like this episode, because I was like, there's so much you could have done a lot better job, and like it just the greater good, that always gets me, man. I'm like, get the fuck out of here with your greater good shit.
Right,
like
right.
Who are you to play God? Like who are you
to say these two children aren't going to make the world even better?
Exactly.
Well, they didn't know, and it puts them into a quandary where it's like, okay, we can bring Malloy and his wife and kid to the future, but now he's 10 years older.
Yeah.
So we have to keep on making him look 10 years older for the rest of the season, with, you know, whatever. And then it's like, how do you acclimate those two to the future, or at least the wife, because the kid probably will easily acclimate.
Right.
But,
and then meanwhile, the other side of this episode, by the way, was Charlie and Isaac, like, and Isaac was like in his human form, and they started to get along a little bit more. She started to kind of like see that he is different than the other Kalon. Like she's kind of coming around to the idea that he's like very different, and like the fact that he actually cared about her, what she thought of him and stuff like that was like shocking to him, for her to learn, I think. So there was like there's certain things about the episode that was like good in that sense, because it was keeping that plot point going, but otherwise it was a mess. Like I was like, oof, I don't know.
Wait a minute. Joseph, Seth in the OC is one of the coolest characters ever. So thank you very much. I didn't realize he's married to her, but Seth is the archetype of the cool nerdy guy finally getting laid.
Yeah, he was the good friend, actually. Like Seth.
He was the man.
He was a good guy.
And he got Summer.
Okay, well, final
all right, now I gotta go.
Scott, on this episode, and I guess for the rest of the episode, since you're leaving.
I'm sorry,
think
guys.
About the season, and give us your final thoughts.
So I also thought the first 3 episodes were slow, but I think it finished with the next, 7, were fantastic to me.
The next technically 4.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 7, yeah.
7, yeah. I think they were really great. I enjoyed them, except maybe the whole like Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad one, but I also love the fact that the father goes and saves his daughter from death. That was a good episode. Midnight Blue. Domino was good because of the fight. Future Unknown was funny at times, but all I'm going to say is I really hope they get another season, because I really think it's going to, it can only get better. I really believe that. I think the writers understand woke is not what we want. Yes, you could dabble it in, because all these Star Treks have woke in them. They all have. They're all about, the best form of society. But I think they did it at least practically, where I think, Script, you said it before, you don't know sometimes which side they're pointing at. Was it Hillary or was it Trump? So if you're able to get people to think they're two different things, you've actually done a really good job. So
exactly. The concept of science fiction is to take familiar ideas and boil them down to those ideas, and then tell a narrative from that, so that it can be used in various different contexts throughout history. The moment you get too specific is when you lose the concept of science fiction, and it just becomes I want to rewrite history.
Right. Well, like that girl on one of the last episode, where she wants to go home and she wants to steal all the stuff to bring it back to her people. Like, I'd be peace out later all. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
this is awesome. I can go into this room and it becomes anything I want. I'll visit them there. Yay.
Yeah.
You know, but,
yeah, I'll just recreate them in the holodeck. That's what I was thinking.
And then
was
hang
it.
out there for a couple hours, then go back to the cool world.
Yeah,
where
the
I don't
cool
have to worry
world and
about
just
anything.
make a McDonald's burger and fries. But no, I thank you for having me on as always.
Do you got anything coming up you want to plug?
Yeah, not this Monday. Following Monday, we start House of the Dragon shows again. So Game of Thrones shows with Jane, I think, will be there.
Nice.
And according to Christy and a couple others will be stopping in every Monday night. And we have the Saturday dump, which is doing pretty good. And we have Mad's Wednesdays, which are not doing as well. But, you know, it's Mad. So
Yeah.
no, I appreciate all
What
of
days are you doing your House of Dragon stuff on?
Monday nights.
Oh, Monday
nights
okay.
at 7:30. We'll start that not this week, next week. I'm having a member stream this Saturday or this Monday instead. And then we'll start that the following Monday. So
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Thank you for being here, Scott. Thank you so
guys.
much.
Love
See
you.
you next week, maybe.
Bye.
Bye.
And then there were two. I don't know if anyone else is showing up tonight, but you know what? We can keep going. But you want to hear the craziest thing, Script Doctor, is I just realized that I skipped a whole episode, which was episode 7. And I was so confused
the episode
because
with Timus or whatever his name is.
yeah, because I was like so confused because later on, like I guess this episode gets referenced, and I was like, I think I missed something, and then I realized that I did.
I can briefly summarize it. It's
Please do.
An original Kalon has been freed from their logic only thinking, and they're able to feel emotions.
Okay.
And we get a origin story of how the Kalon came to become the dominant species on their planet, and how they killed their creators and why they killed their creators. And their creators essentially are just a silver looking alien species, humanoid-ish, no hair. And they abuse their robotic servants, essentially.
Oh, wow.
They treat them horribly. And so they didn't like that. And when they started to show issues, the people that built the Kalons would rewrite their programming. And eventually what ended up happening is that they found a way to alter their physical structure and network with each other so that they could free themselves. And they did so by exterminating the organics. And that's how they became who they are. And then that scientist was with that Kalon, who I guess was damaged, and she reprogrammed him essentially so that he could feel emotion. And as a result, he changes his perspective and regrets the actions of what the Kalon have done. And when they find out that they could probably do this for Isaac, they ask him if he wants to do it, and he felt like there's no real reason for him to, because why? And then Claire realizes, oh wait, if he can feel, maybe he'll understand and be the full potential of a partner that she's really looking for. And so Isaac logically concludes, okay, I'll do that. Like, it's a back and forth pretty much, but he does it. And then he feels for the first time, and he professes his love for Claire and everything. And then all of a sudden he stops feeling emotions again.
For no reason?
Because he is not an original Kalon. He was built by the Kalon, so he doesn't have the same flaws that the Kalon have. And as a result, the programming doesn't work on him, but it could, but it comes at the expense of his memory. So everything he's ever experienced in memory would be gone, but he would be able to feel, and Claire can't ask him to do that.
I'm going to have to go and rewatch this episode because I mean, not rewatch, watch it for the first time because I can't believe I totally skipped this one. I was like, oh.
Yeah, but that's basically, it's a very bottle episode story. It's really just about the relationship stuff.
Okay. Jerkoff Juggernaut for 5 says episode 7 was pretty pivotal for the series, but who actually believes they will build off of it because the original Kalons will never follow suit.
Yeah, the odds of other Kalons wanting to feel and learn and understand empathy and then regret is pretty rare. But this was a bottle episode just to show, and also I guess for Claire to get some closure in the fact that even though Isaac can't express or feel his affections for her, they are there.
So really quickly, because I'm just kind of skimming through the episode, but like, what the hell is going on with these two? So are they like having sex and then?
Yeah.
Is she like too strong and like hurt him?
It's actually really unfortunate that you missed this one because it's actually brilliant. So yeah, Lamar and whatever her Tala, have fallen in love. Like they
Okay.
genuinely care about and like each other. But the problem is that because she's super strong, every time they're intimate, something breaks.
So this is like the Superman and Lois Lane situation where like we're always like, oh, he's gonna break her pelvis, and then so
To a
she
degree,
kind of
except
does.
the difference with Superman is that he actually has control over his strength, like so precisely,
Oh
and
my
she
god.
doesn't as much.
Oh
And
my god. So she ends up hurting him. So it's kind of like I guess maybe it's also like kind of like the take on the Klingon sex situation because
a
like they
little bit,
always hurt each
yeah.
other.
But here's the thing: is like he's been going to see the doctor like 3 times a week for injuries, and he doesn't, and they don't tell anyone that they're in a relationship, so it's all secret. So he's like, it's a workout, and she's like, well, stop doing it. He's like, I can't. It's a really good workout.
Oh my god, that's funny. I can't. I'm gonna go. I definitely have to go watch
You'll
this.
have to watch it because it does end bittersweetly.
Oh my god, like look at this dude's face. Like my god.
Oh yeah, like you're just wondering what was he doing that caused that to happen to him.
Oh my god. And she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Oh my god, that's hilarious. I'm definitely gonna have to go and
Yeah.
watch this. I'm sorry I missed it, so we can talk about it. Because there was a couple times where they were like referencing this, I think, and I was like, I think I must have skipped something because whoops. Like I guess this is what happens when you never mind. Never.
But I mean, it's a bottle episode about all the relationships and things, which comes back again later for the finale.
Yes. I mean, I don't think I missed that much, but that's fine. It's okay.
No, but it was a pretty good, understandable origin for the Kalon and why
Yes.
they are the way they are. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it even got to the point where like kids were abusing them as well. So you really hated the kids.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
you,
Yeah,
you
we
also
said-
learned that there's probably a small group of the species that made the Kalon that said, we should probably not mess with them, and we should probably treat them like real living beings because they're kind of breaching that threshold. And the owner's like, no,
yeah.
we're just going to repatch them and change their software and all that stuff. Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so like the next one though, this one the next ones I definitely did watch. Okay, so the next one is. Oh, did you have any final thoughts on episode 7?
No, I thought it was kind of a fun. It was a very expositional episode. There wasn't a whole lot of real things happening.
Mhm.
It was very character, zero plot, essentially.
Sure.
But it was a good respite from all the stuff we've gotten up to this point, and it much needed before we get into like Midnight Blue and the sanctuary stuff that's going on there. And
I definitely want to watch it because first of all, I want to see that sex scene between those people. I think that's funny. But also I want to see it because like they did reference it several times. So I was like, oh, there's definitely like some character development that I missed. So here we go for episode 8 though. We're kind of back to the whole Topa storyline. And he's getting, or she, I should say now, definitely. She's getting mentored by Captain Grayson. They're getting closer and closer. And then she like kind of decides to help the original female. What were they called again?
the Mocklins, yeah, they go to
yeah,
sanctuary
female
for.
Mocklin.
There's an inspection that occurs every year on the planet to make sure that they're not adding more smuggling females to the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And the Mocklins do their thing, and they're about to leave, and then the Union comes in with Kelly and Bortus, and they, even though Bortus at first didn't want to do it, they allow Topa to come and interact with other females. And
which, by the way, when the second she got off the ship, I was like, dude, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like to like when she like showed herself to the other dudes, I was like, why couldn't you wait until like they left?
Yeah, because you kind of saw exactly what was going to happen. Like they're going to pretend to leave, and they're going to come and take her, and
you kill her or take her or something, because whatever. I mean, I felt like maybe Clyden was going to have something to do with it, like somehow, but poor Clyden didn't have anything to do with it. But yeah, so she meets the female leader, and she tells her like, hey, I'm gonna recruit you. I'm gonna recruit you for this rebellion. because you know, you need to help us because you like, you know, you're one of us and you have access to the ship and you have access to the Orville, and the Orville can help because we've started the underground baby smuggling situation again, and we need
More people.
more
to
people
help.
on board to help organize stuff, and you know, you can be of great help. And the girl was obviously like, yeah, fuck yeah, like I'm gonna agree, because I was my life, you know, this is what happened to
She was a
me.
victim of that. Yeah, she was a victim of the. Yeah, so it's very endearing, but it's also unfortunate that the author there, that character Havina, I think her name was, has she's kind of abusing her power and
Very much
and
so.
her ideology for something, as opposed to trying to fight the good fight a bit more publicly.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes with this great sacrifice, is the fact that Topa, as she's exploring this planet, gets taken. And
Which by the way was really freaking dumb, because like she like started just wandering around the forest like looking for this like freaking blue thing,
this blue
and
bug.
then yeah, this blue bug, and then like Bordas runs up and is like, she wouldn't go off without like knowing. And I was like, that's exactly what she did. She like literally went off without telling anybody. She's like, I'm just gonna like walk into the forest now. Like, how dumb are you, like little kid? Like, don't do that. Uh, don't wander around alone at night in the middle of the woods. Maybe you won't get kidnapped. I don't know, or
Yeah.
eaten by like freaking animals. It's the freaking forest. But she gets kidnapped by the male, whatever's
The Mocklins, yeah,
the
she gets
Mocklins.
kidnapped and taken to a black sites facility and tortured, and it's up to Kelly and Bordas to try and find them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when
This part was crazy. The part with Dolly Parton.
yeah, I mean that's the part where Seth MacFarlane's character is trying to convince Havina that, you know, her tactics were probably not the best. And so we get Dolly Parton, which that's actually Dolly Parton.
Yes, it's Dolly Parton, starring
And,
Dolly Parton.
She sings a song and tells a story and talks about responsibility and things. You know, lots of great morally centered subjects about doing the right thing and you know, rolling with the difficulties that life gives you and trying to be better for it. And
I think I will say this, Script Doctor, with regards to Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton looks like an alien now, so she kind of like kind of belongs in this, because I was like, dude, like she, wow, she looks like a freaking alien. Like, I'm like, there's so much plastic surgery going on with Dolly. I mean, I love you, Dolly.
Actually.
I love Dolly.
With Dolly, it's a lot more Botox than it is plastic surgery.
Yes,
I can tell because I've been in Hollywood. I've seen the difference. I've seen what a person with a lot of plastic surgery looks, and what a person with a lot of Botox. And Dolly's more on the Botox side of things. She may have had one facelift, but I don't think anything more.
Whatever's going on is she doesn't look like she used to. Let's just say that.
Well, I mean, it's hard to stay youthful when you're in your 70s.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, look at what's her name though? I mean, I think she looks better. What's her name? God, I'm forgetting her name.
What's she in?
Jane Fonda.
Jane Fonda? Oh, well, she hasn't had any work done.
I don't think she has it, but she looks great for her age.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like she looks fantastic.
I think she does the Priscilla Presley like skin peels.
Is that what she does? Because she looks fucking great. I'm like, dude, I think I think she's even older than Dolly. Jerking off for 5 says, how much? What? How much?
KY.
KY do you think Dolly's Batcave needs? Because I'd still hit it. Oh my god, ew. God damn it, jerk off Juggernaut.
That's blue. That's very blue.
Wow. Okay. Moving on with this episode. So then, this dude freaking tortures this little kid, which is really weird.
To uncover the network that she hasn't even officially been a part of yet.
Right, but apparently she knew the name though, which was
she
really
knows like
weird.
the frequency and the contact name, which is really important to to their cause.
But why didn't they hold off on telling her all that info? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's like it was a little bit too soon.
I think Havina told it to her because it's like, well, why not? She has to start being the intermediary, right?
Right. I guess so.
So what we have here is we have this torture scene which is going on while Havina is at Union, admitting that she's had this and that there's a reason that they need to exist, and then you have the ambassadors saying like this is evil, and you're kind of exploring the concept that the Moclans are abusing their position in the Union because they make weapons to basically not be part of the Union philosophically, which is that let every culture be, let the people be, and you kind of see that they're evil, and the Union you also see is silly in the fact that they've left their entire weapons manufacturing industry to one species,
which is kind of stupid.
Instead of trying to do something of themselves, which is very stupid.
Their entire there's so many planets. It's like there's only one of you that makes weapons. Like what?
Or they make the best weapons. It's like there's no one in the Union has reverse engineered or seen how their methods are to try and replicate or improve upon, or
right.
They're so that far behind Moclan in weapons manufacturing that they can't match it. It's very, very peculiar. But you get this awesome set piece of Kelly and Bortus just shooting up this black site to get there. The one thing that bothered me was the fact that they parked their shuttle so far away.
Oh my God! Thank you. Oh my God!
It's like can cloak. But
dude,
they parked kilometers away.
Screaming about that with my husband because we were watching it together, and he was like, "Is this for real? Like, what is happening right now?" And I was like, "This is what he does. This is what Seth MacFarlane does because that entire thing was set up for that one scene where they had that moment, script doctor.
Yeah.
That whole thing was set up so that they're walking and she falls off the cliff and then they have a moment like that whole freaking setup. Because I was like, you have a cloak. Like, why are you not landing like so much closer? And then it's like, oh, let's just have them have a moment together. I'm trying to find the stupid moment, but
where he's like, he heals her arm, and then you have the chase scene, which was silly, where they're trying to escape, and it's like, oh, we only have launching thrusters, we don't have the or launching engines, we don't have the atmosphere for thrusters. And I'm like, well, just go straight up then. But no, they're gonna weave through all these caves and valleys for basically just for a pointless set piece. Doesn't have any play onto the actual advantages of what they are or where they are.
And that's why it was annoying, because at this point it's like they've taken Clyden out. She's not with the captain, and all of a sudden they're insinuating that like there's a spark between her and Bortus because like she's kind of like become a mother figure to the kid now, and he's single. So like, what does that mean? Like, are they gonna do like this whole thing now? But then
I think that was deliberately a troll to mock this next generation where Worf and Troy got together.
Oh my God.
That was completely pointless and out of left field. It was like, the only reason Troy's involved is like, Worf has a son, Alexander, and he needs a female figure because his mother's dead. So I'll go to the only female I know, Troy. It's like, there's a doctor that's actually raised a kid.
Right. Yeah.
And Pulaski in season 2 had a way more friendship with Worf than Beverly Crusher did.
Oh my God. That's true. That's true.
But regardless of that, I think that was just kind of like a little dig, because I think from this exchange, I would get the impression that Bortus would look at Kelly as a mother figure to Topa, and Kelly would be like, I respect you because you're the type of man that your rest of your species should be, type of thing. Like, that's how I can see them playing it out later on.
Yes. But I can see them being like really good friends, but the way that this was like insinuating that they would be a couple, I was like, like what the hell? Because she doesn't want to be with the other dude because...
Well, she still loves Ed, but she can't be with Ed because of all their past and also their responsibilities on the ship.
Because of the stupid responsibilities. But in this case, if you're going to get involved with somebody else on the ship, then like all that stuff goes out the door. Because then you're like... Because then she would be his commanding officer, and then it would be weird to, command your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever to like do whatever the hell you want, or like go on away missions that you're not part of, or whatever.
Mhm.
So you have the same dynamic. So
Well,
if
the
you're
only
gonna
difference
play
is
that
that
out,
like the captain can now send his ex on an away mission, and if she dies, it's not the husband's fault for doing that. The husband can blame the captain instead of the other way. Like it's just a weird dynamic.
yeah, it is. Jerk off Juggernaut for 5 says it's kind of like how America has left all its manufacturing to China and Mexico.
Sadly, a lot of the Western
That's
countries
not a lie.
have done that. Yeah, it's
That's
sad.
not a lie. Well, I mean, especially in Mexico, like you get they assemble everything here. Like even TVs, like Samsung TVs are assembled in Mexico,
And then
even though
shipped
they're
over
like Korean
overseas.
parts,
Yeah.
but it's assembled in Mexico, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
And
weird.
TVs still would have been very cheap today if they never deferred all those other stuff for quote unquote cost savings in the 70s and 80s, because TVs would still be pricey, but not through the roof. Whereas if they started manufacturing them and locally and assembling them locally and selling them locally, they'd probably be 3 or 4 times the cost because of that gap that's happened.
That's true. This is funny. She's keeping it in the senior staff circle. Gross. What a slut. But yeah, so that whole like let's land the
The shuttle
like
an hour's hike
miles away was for that scene. That was it. Because otherwise it would have
very
parked it
contrived.
closer. Very.
But
Then the end of the episode ends pretty well. It
Clyden
ends
comes
with them
back.
showing up because they saved the little girl, and they show up to the Union, with her all effed up like in the face, and that, and then Bortus like has another speech which I was like, yes, Bortus.
Yep.
Yes, like you stand up for your daughter. I was very happy with what he said there. And he basically called them all out. He was like, you guys are gonna just like stand here and let them
what they did to my
butcher
daughter
children.
get away.
Yeah. So, and they didn't, because they were like, you know what? Never mind. We're gonna stand with Bortus. And
We're
so
going to
they
stand for the values of the Union, which Bortus finds more important than the values of the Mocklins, and to heck with their weapons at this point.
Yep.
And then on top, and then what ends up happening later is that Clyden returns.
Clyden comes back.
And you find out that Ed Mercer contacted him and said, "Listen, your daughter's been kidnapped and beaten.
Yeah, tortured.
I thought you should know, and tortured. I thought you should know. And if you want to come see her, you've got permission on the ship." And like that's pretty big of a captain, because
Yes.
And
because they were like not on good terms, especially.
No, they weren't. And Clyden comes back and he's like, "You know what? I was stupid. I was wrong. You're my child. I need you." And
I love that scene. I mean, that was
nice.
A little bit like, I was like, okay, like, he won me back. And I was like, because it was like, I disliked Clyden from like season 1. And it just kind of showed that at the end of the day, he's wanted the best for his daughter as well. And again, like he's had so much sacred cows with regards to his own culture and everything like that, that he can finally like, if he can finally get past it, like there's kind of like hope for everybody, because it's like he was such an extremist, and for him to finally kind of like come down to like human levels and be like, oh, maybe, well, not human, but you know what I mean? Like
he had to have something that hit him personally enough to challenge his beliefs.
Empathetic levels, yeah.
And he finally figured it out, and now he's on that journey to being what he's supposed to be, a good parent, and him and Clyden and Bortus have basically emancipated themselves from Mocklus. They're no longer technically citizens of them. They're now part of the Union.
Yep.
And also the sanctuary has also become part of the Union as well, a protected place, which means that any Mocklin that wishes to go there will be accepted.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, like, will this be a benefit to the Union? Because we already know that there's male Mocklins that are in the same perspective as Bortus, that have rescued their children and taken them there. Well, who's to say that that colony, that sanctuary, won't be able to build weapons of their own for the Union because the education is clearly going to be there. It may be not as quickly on the production side of things, but all the theories, the practices, and stuff. I mean, there's probably a lot more female Mocklins and then also Mocklins themselves that are on or share the same perspective as Bortus and now Clyden than the rest of the planet's probably willing to admit.
Very good points. Also, the other thing that I was thinking about is for the first time ever, I want to actually know how these people reproduce. And by these people, I mean like the female Mocklins. Because can they reproduce? Like at least this is the first time I actually want to know these questions, and I'm not getting any answers, and I'm like getting a little bit frustrated by it. Because how are they supposed to keep the colony going other than smuggling kids in there?
Yeah, what's the thing with the females? Because we talked about this last week. It's like, can they, if they mate with a male, do they just breed like puppies or rabbits or flies?
What is
giant
the story?
Children, or and if with the Mocklins on the male side of things, okay, we know one of them lays an egg, but is it as a byproduct of the sexual congress between the two males, or is it just Bortus just laid an egg and then he sits on it asexually and Clyden takes credit for being part of it because they were mates together? We don't know the details yet. I don't want to image of it, just a generic summary.
Yeah, I just want a point form. Oh, by the way, the females can lay eggs too. Done. That's all I needed to hear. I don't need to know. I don't need to see a sex scene. I just need to know what the hell's going on, with their reproduction situation. Jerk off Juggernaut for 5 says, I do telecom work and everything is manufactured in China and built/assembled in Mexico. Yep. A lot of stuff is assembled in Mexico. I know that. That's interesting, though. Jerk off Juggernaut.
It's got to change.
You will never know. I know. It's well, I don't think I will because the season's over and we didn't get any answers. But yeah, so this episode's done. That was it. They ended their treaty with Mockless. Was a big deal. And of course, right after they did that, I was like, I know what's going to happen next. I bet I know what's going to happen next. And lo and behold, it happened next.
Yep.
And of course,
in their hubris and arrogance.
This was my favorite episode of the season.
I liked a lot of this. I thought the ending could have been reworked, but yes, I dug a lot of this because this is it's quite clever because you have the Mocklins going to the Krill saying, you know what, we need to ally against the Union because we're afraid of the Kalon, and the leader of the Krill is a woman, and they're like, yeah, but we want to be in charge. It's like, well, we're bigger than you. It doesn't matter that I'm led by a woman. It's like, we're bigger than you, you pathetic people.
Oh my God. This part was really funny because I was like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of pathetic really for them to go to this female and be like, yeah, let's hang out and let's be allies. And then she's all, well, didn't you leave those other guys because you don't like females and taking orders from females, and now you're here talking to me? What?
No, taking orders from and wanting me to be subjugated by you as opposed to the fact that our numbers are greater.
Yeah, she's like,
and
nah,
they're like,
that's
we'll
not
have to
happening.
reconsider this. It's like, yeah, that's what we thought. Mocklin's personal, cowardly desire to survive against one enemy will allow them to be, maybe even have an alliance, a proper, almost equal standing alliance with a species that's currently ruled by a female. It's you're willing to compromise your beliefs because of circumstances. And the same thing goes with the Krill as well. They're like, yeah, well, we probably need someone to help us against the Kalon now that we are not with the Union anymore. And then
Mocklin
splaining. But then we get into the next part, which is the Union has developed a weapon.
Yes. And not only that, hang on, because I have the scene. They have someone who betrayed them. Ted Danson betrayed everybody. was like, I'm gonna give this weapon to
The Krill.
the Krill and
Because they would use it because the Kalon threat is too great to even entertain an armistice, essentially, a ceasefire. Because they make this weapon, they go to Celea, which is not a military planet. They're all about the science and stuff, and they frown upon the military, so they're completely defenseless. And they go there, they use the weapon on the Kalon, and it just takes them out within like several hundred kilometers. And if they had bigger power source, it could go light years. So they could.
That was a crazy scene with them taking everybody out. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And so they use this weapon, and then the Kalon agree, okay, we will not attack anymore. We will stay where we are because we do not want to be extinct. And the Union's like, okay, we made progress. And then Admiral Perry, which is Ted Danson's character, decides to give it to the Krill because he knows they will use it, and that way the Union won't be compromised on their values for genocide, and things will be okay because he perceives that the Union itself is strong enough to stand against the Krill and the Moclans, and not so much as strong enough to stand against the Kalon alone.
Right.
And
do you think he was right? Like, what did you think of his logic?
The logic is sound.
Yes.
But ethically, it's wrong.
I
That's
agree.
the thing. Like, he's doing it logically to preserve the fate of the galaxy because he knows that it's only a matter of time before the Kalon will find a defense and then go back to their own things. Perfectly logical, perfectly understandable. The only variable he's missing is the possibility that the Kalon will learn new data and not want to exterminate the rest of the galaxy. That's
and it's a bit of a dick move, right? Because it's like,
but I mean, as soon as he took that, I'm thinking, yeah, he's dead. Like he's not, like who in their right mind would think they're getting away with this? And even the character even acknowledges that he thinks he's going to get away with this. Which he does.
But he was like, I'm going to go turn myself in. So it was like,
so,
all right, well, whatever then.
Yeah, you're not even going to get that opportunity. You're going to be destroyed. And so that compels the Union to reach out to Kalon and be like, listen, our new enemies have now gotten the weapon and they're going to destroy you. So we need to stop them, and we need you to send some ships to help us do that.
This scene cracked me up a lot because I thought this was really funny. And like the part that like the robots when they talk, like I'm just like, this is so funny because like he's like, is this your attempted at like humor? Is it like is your attempted humor or something like that? Like, are you joking? Like it's like the way of like them saying, are you fucking joking me right now? Like, you know? And he's just like, no, I'm not. Like, you know, it's unfortunately no, it's not our attempted humor. Like they actually did steal a weapon, and we need your help. And they're like, you know, we might as well just take care of it ourselves. You guys are fucking useless. You know, and the guy's like, yeah, you know, like, no, you need us and blah, blah, blah. Because they have this like fail-safe situation where you need, of course, the bestest ensign ever.
Only Charlie and Isaac can operate the weapon, but there is a possibility that someone else could reverse engineer it and operate it themselves.
Right, but apparently you need her.
But apparently you need her and Isaac together to disarm the weapon. Like that's the other part. Right. So those two fleets get together and they find out that on a Moclus like research planet, they're building a giant quantum core, which will allow the weapon to have a several light years expansion. Basically, it will destroy all Kalon in the galaxy, across a third of the galaxy or a seventh of the galaxy, something of that nature. And so we have a couple of cool set pieces. We've got a space battle with the Kalon and the Union ships against the Krill and the Moclans.
Yep, this was some of the coolest space battle scenes I've seen in a while, and this was what I was talking about. I thought this had a lot of like Star Wars-esque cuts. You know, had a lot of like really, really cool cut scenes with the space battles and everything like that. Like that part where they're finally flying the little baby ship. Like I forget what.
They got they have the like the fighters, so they go into the atmosphere fighters. And you got Lamar and Gordon Malloy and a random Asian man flying in and having some dog fights.
And there was like they were trying to go into that facility, but they couldn't because the shield generator was like too high and like, you know, all this stuff. And he's like, oh, this is like it's too well guarded. Like we can't get it. But it was like very Star Wars like, you know,
Yep.
like a lot of that stuff was like the battle.
And then the shuttle crew, like they do the Star Trek '09 jumping into the atmosphere suits and flying into
Yeah, that was cool. I like that scene. I was like, ooh.
And yeah,
This
then
is
they
fun.
lead their way in and they fight, and then Kelly and Talea
That
they
scene,
duke it
man.
out. Basically, both of Ed's exes fight over him.
That was great though. I really like that scene.
Mhm.
Like, because I usually like cat fight scenes in general. Like you know, I like it when like chicks like start fighting each other, especially when it's like not Mary Sue's. Like if
Yeah.
this was a scene, like if this was set up where switch the commander out with Mary Sue chick, Charlie, I wouldn't like the scene, right? Like I'd be
Yeah.
like, no, I don't like this. But again, we've established that like she's a commander, military trained, all this stuff. Like, you know, she kicked Bortus's ass last episode. Like
No,
this chick's
Clyde's.
very capable of taking care of herself.
Yeah,
And
and it's pretty. The only thing I was kind of wishing is like hair pulling would be funny. She's like, "No fair, I like you don't have hair.
you don't have any hair.
You know,
Yeah, that would have been funny.
because you see, I've seen that in some fights with women.
Yeah, I could
But
see
they have this
that.
pretty gruesome fight, and yeah, Kelly sort of wins the fight. Needs help with Tala to come in and just knock her out because she was busy fighting off all the other Mocklins.
Yeah, and she's like, "Where were you?" And I like how she gave her this look, like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" So I fought off like 20, like you know, I don't know how many like squads of people, right? But she was fighting a lot of other people. But
And then
it was funny.
yeah, so we have Isaac and the primary from Kalon.
Mhm.
They with Charlie, they get into the control center, and they they
Mhm.
defeat a bunch of the Mocklins and let some of them go, and Isaac lets one go, and the primary is lost as to why he doesn't kill him. It's like, well, there's no need,
I love that part.
which was interesting because through
It
this
was
entire
unnecessary.
venture, the primary is learning that the biologicals actually have a
Sacrifice.
value system, and they're not the
Yeah.
same as the other species. It's not a one model fits all as what the Kalon are used to.
Hmm.
And it brings about an idea that you would think they would take to the completion, because again, if you remember in season 2, Isaac destroys the primary, but they have a backup system. Their consciousness or whatever goes back to Kalon, and they go back into a new model, and they come out again. So they're essentially immortal.
Mm.
So then we have this situation where they can't dismantle the weapon, but they can overload the core so it doesn't go off.
Right.
And Charlie volunteers to stay behind.
Yep.
And I'm fine with that premise, but the problem is that they see it to the end where she stays behind, she overloads the core, dies.
I
But
thought that part was dumb, man.
It is
I'm
dumb,
sorry, but I was
because in
like,
Star
no.
Trek, her act of this offering the sacrifice to do it would actually trigger to the primary to say, no, I will stay and do it because I can come back, you cannot. But the fact that you're willing to sacrifice yourself conveys to me that yes, not all biologics are like this, and then those two leave, because that's
Right.
how Star Trek would do it. Because
And
it's not about
also-
her sacrificing herself for the primary to get the point. It's about the primary getting the point before she actually has to go that far.
Right. And then, but it also like just shows me something else though, is that like, again, like this is why I was wondering, like, is it because like she's like they broke up that he wants to kill her off now? Like, I don't really understand because it was unnecessary. This is when it comes to like little technical things of like her having to like smash those buttons anyway, to like having to stay there because we were talking about the button pushing.
God,
Remember?
yeah.
It was like she kept like pushing buttons. I'm like, you're overloading the system. Like, why don't you just put a fucking brick on it and like just walk away? You know, like it doesn't really matter like what you do at that point. Like you're just overloading the system. It's really not that hard.
Yeah.
But also the other thing to me was what I think would have hit home a lot more with the audience is if they had made it so that Yaphet stayed and sacrificed himself, because he's biological.
Mhm.
Rest in peace, Norm. Like he's gone
Well,
now.
nobody at that time knew that even Norm had cancer. So when they were
Oh,
shooting
they
that,
didn't know, so that
nope,
they
he kept
couldn't have
that.
done that.
No, nobody knew. In fact, the only person that knew was maybe one of his publicists, and he did his stand up in front of the video camera, his webcam, because he wanted to get it up before he actually did his Netflix special, which was going to be called Nothing Special. So he did the rehearsal first,
Yeah, I know that one.
and
Yeah.
because he was going in for an operation, he didn't know how it was going to work, so he figured I'd get it out now. And then that's when sort of some of his tighter circle realized he had cancer. And when he passed away, that's when the rest of the world, even the industry, figured out that he had cancer. They didn't know.
Oh, we didn't
So there's
know.
no way they were ever going to have Yaphet do that.
It would have been cool though if Yaphet had
Would have been like an out of left field thing and like crazy foresight.
Yeah. But it would have been cooler. Like, because it would have been like, I would have been like, oh no, Yaphet. Like, but then he's gone. So it would be like, oh, he's missed forever. But I just didn't like that she was like, she's like Jesus, dude. She's like the ultimate. Like, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, they made her into like Jesus.
They
were
made
like,
her into a martyr, dying for the beliefs of the Union and peace. And their overuse of the word peace in that episode was really
damn,
painful.
like, man, I'm telling you, like his whole speech, like I was like, like, could we just, oh my God, like I get it. Like, I get it. I got you.
Yeah, hit it home harder, will you?
Yeah, just, oh my God, just a little bit more. But she's so great and so loving, and just like everything about her, she's so perfect. And like, everything. And then Isaac gives a 15-minute speech, and they're like, oh my God, like, let's move on with this. Like,
Well, you got to
okay,
celebrate,
get it.
Seth's girlfriend. He gave her what a lot of actors want, which is a great death scene, even though the great death was hardly great or needed death. Because that's one of the fundamentals of writing is like, if you have the target of like, I'm going to kill off this character and it's supposed to have meaning, you have to make sure that every single circumstance around that cannot be doubted by your audience.
Mm-hmm.
That this is how it has to be. It's like, well, not in this case, because we already established that the primary and other Kalons can be rebuilt with the same memories. And
I didn't even think about that, dude. That makes it even worse.
It really does, yeah.
Because like, oh my God.
Because at the end of the day, it's like, well, she had to die for the Kalon to come to this conclusion, and everything leading up to that moment, the Kalon are already coming to that conclusion. You don't need the extra death. If anything, the revelation would be like, oh wait, if biologics value life and they value our life, and even though it's artificial and that we're essentially immortal, well then I can reciprocate that by saving that one person, and also solidifying the fact that the Kalon can now be very well trusted, as opposed, because it's not a one-way streak. Which again is why I said at the beginning of the stream, if they found their legs, their feet are asleep, because they're not quite getting it all there. They don't have all the feeling that they need to.
Yeah, it just seems like maybe Seth is like that. That's why I was like, maybe it's like it was a passion project, and he's kind of like, well, I'm done now. Like, I don't really need to do much more. I don't know. It just kind of felt a little bit like that. Like maybe the novelty's worn off or what. That's why.
Yeah,
certain things went down. But yeah, so this was kind of like the we've come back like full circle, because last year, like the season 2, they were killing each other.
Yeah, the Kalon it goes back to what was the hope that the Union had with the Kalon when they had the emissary of Isaac, which is like, we want you to be a member of the Union, and we'll, at this point here, we'll like put you on like a conditional.
It's like a trial period.
And
let's
like,
see if it works out.
The Kalon's like, sounds acceptable. Let's do it.
yeah. That we accept your terms. Like I like I really do like the Kalon. I think that they're really like entertaining. Then of course we also had the scene with Mercer meeting the Tala again, or whatever her name was. And she's like, all, you will never see your daughter again. Unless you
to
let
Leia.
me
It's like, if
out.
you let me go, I'll give you your daughter. It's like, no.
Nah. It's like, bitch, I didn't need you to meet her the first time. Why would I freaking do that? Like now, why would I let you go?
We know enough about your species and the layout of your planet that we could probably infiltrate it, rescue the kid, and get out of there without too much of an issue.
Well, and it's also like it's really stupid on her part because it's like she's gonna grow up. Like even like at the very beginning in season 2 when we weren't even, or like in this season when we were introduced to her like at the beginning or whatever, and we were like, you know, she's got a baby, and she's like, you know, I'm not gonna like I'm just gonna keep her hidden, you know. I was like, that's just like such a short mind like sighted point of view, because at some point the kid's gonna grow up, and once the kid grows up and like realizes that her mom's kept her prisoner and is basically like ashamed of her all her life, like, you know, and of her existence, you're gonna get like the kid's gonna just be drawn to the father either way. Like you're not doing a very good job at it as at indoctrinating your child if that's what your, you know, your intention is. She wasn't doing it well. But now she's all like, okay, well, I'm gonna like just leave it alone, you know. But that wasn't the ending, guys, because that was the penultimate episode. Charlie sacrificed herself. In some ways, I was like, first of all, I'm not gonna lie. The second she died, I was like, "Yay, she's gone." I was kind of happy about it. Like, I know that sounds awful, but I was. And I also, like, side note, I always laugh whenever they have like these like hardcore gatherings in the docking bays, because I'm like, where the fuck are you putting like your shuttles? Like while, you know, because I'm sure they have like more shuttle bays. Like they have like, I think because they have I know I've seen 3 and 4 before and stuff like that, but in the shuttle bays, it's usually like, you know, they usually have 3 ships per shuttle bay. So like I don't think they could fit another 3 in another shuttle bay. Like it makes no sense to me when they have
a dimensional issue when it comes to the shuttle bay. For starters, the doors are solid, and when they separate and go on either side, they there's nowhere for them to go, because the shuttle bay and the back of the ship is about the same width. So the doors aren't basically like an accordion set of doors. So 2 solid doors that split open. It's like, that's not how that works. Even on original Star Trek, they had accordion doors that opened up on the Enterprise. And then it's this giant shuttle bay that clearly that can fit like maybe 4 shuttles, but there's only ever 2 at any given time.
Right.
And it's like, well, you're gonna run out of shuttles pretty fast, the rate of what's going on with this episode.
I know, that's why like every time they're like having concerts and stuff like that, I'm like, where are you putting this shuttle? Like, where's the shuttles? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
They can fit 70 people in the shuttle.
Yes, they can. Those are big. Yeah. Especially the new ones that they just introduced, because the one in the previous season were a little bit smaller.
Wait, what? Wait, hold the phone. Because they sure as hell couldn't fit those poor people in that fucking shuttle. When they didn't, they're like, oh, we could only take like 30 of you. Nah. Oh God. I'm still not over that episode. But yeah. So last episode of the season, I kind of thought that they could have ended it on here, to be completely honest with you. I was like, you know, they didn't really need this episode, but I almost feel like, again, I don't know if Seth really wants to do a season 4. I almost feel like he did this episode just to be like, hey, if I don't get a season 4, this is your ending for the series.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of fine with that. Like, you know, as someone who likes endings, like I'm fine with this as a series end. Like, you know, I would like more, but I'm not gonna, you know, be upset about it. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, I had a shitty ending. Because
no,
it kind of
like a denouement, more like
that. It wrapped everything up. I thought it was pretty good. So the episode starts with Isaac going around the ship, being part of the crew, bringing a banana to the doctor like he usually does, just, you know, getting involved with everybody and blah blah blah. And then it kind of jumps from like one place to the next, but the core of the matter is basically that Clyden and
Bortus are reunifying.
Yes. And again, it's another trippy fucking scene where you're like, really? Like, what is
It
what?
goes on too long.
It goes on way too long, and I was like, what is happening right now? And like, is this gonna be the episode again? Like, I thought I was kind of getting like a little annoyed at first because I was like, is this gonna be like another one of those porn episodes? Because I'm not interested in like watching Clyden and freaking
Bortus get down.
Bortus, yeah, like get intimate and whatever. Like I was like, how far is this gonna go? But it was funny. Like this was like the funny episode to balance out like a very kind of serious episode in the last couple of episodes. And I did think that there was one part that I laughed my ass off, and that was when Gordon was like basically like, Boris wants to do everything, like, he's just such an attention whore, and like he's like, and then he's like, I like Earth, like, oh, I'm a best man. This is like an Earth's tradition, like I don't
It's
know
an
what
Earth
the hell
wedding.
that thing was, like sexual assault, and I was like, yeah, like that's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, what is this? They're like chasing each other, like
Chasing each other in the woods, and if Bortus catches Clyden, they do it in the woods, and they're
they do
reunified.
it,
And
but it has to be
Clyden can't
real.
Clyden has to be generally trying to flee. He can't
Yeah, like actually trying to flee, and if he's not trying, then it's not done like well
Then
enough.
it's not
I was like,
true.
dude, what is
Yeah.
happening? Like, and
So
then
messed up.
dude, I was like, so they're basically saying this is grape. Like, the
Well, I mean, it's
Mocklins are
essential
weird.
because they both want it, but it's like I have to make sure that it's kind of like I think it's to the extreme with regards to the playing hard to get trope.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it
And
is.
it's like, okay, they both want it, but for some reason the one party is like saying, no, I'm not interested. And it's like, well, why would you do that? It's like, I want to just see how committed they are. It's
Yeah,
like,
I
I
want to see
don't
how
realize
committed you
how
really are.
sometimes you don't know what's going on there, because sometimes the person might be so committed that they're willing to commit a crime, or they're just not, or they're so committed that they're willing to just agree to the saying no because they respect you. And then there's the other part, is like they don't even understand the game, and they're just like, okay, yeah, I'm not wasting my time on this, and then walk away.
And then Jerkoff Juggernaut says for 2, this was so gay. I kind of agree. It was very gay, but it was like, not that there's anything
That's
wrong
their
with that.
society. It's a
weird.
very gay society.
Yeah, there's a gay society. I mean, it was gay, very gay.
But this whole event inspires Isaac to commit to Claire.
Yes, and that was why it was important, because I was like, what is the point of this? I thought that this part was funny also when they're like,
just like, what do we do now? Like,
yeah, and they're all like,
they just clap.
start laughing. Like, what are we supposed to do?
Is it over yet?
Because they're just like, wait, like, how we were like, oh, this scene was taking too long, and Gordon's like, do we just clap? Like, what do we do now? Because they're just like standing there. But yeah, so they start clapping. That was funny. This episode had a lot of great moments. I think somebody said that the Elvis scene was great. Yes, it was. I love Bortus Elvis. That was funny. I thought that entire scene was hilarious when he's like trying to give the toast and he butchers it like completely.
Just says the same thing. Having said all that, I wish this. It's just it's insult. Having said all that, I wish this. It's like, no, that's
you killed everybody. Having said all that.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of sentiment to this, which is like Isaac proposes to Claire and she doesn't know how to answer. And so she mulls it over for a bit, and then she comes to the realization when Isaac tells her, like, I would not only raise your offspring, but I'd be with your family for the rest of my existence. It's like, that's pretty significant. Like,
that was
always
cool.
going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely like a bonus, like a plus if you're, if you're thinking of getting a relationship with an AI, and then you realize, oh, my entire generational line is going to be taken care of by this fucking guy. I think that's kind of a bit of a trip. I think that was what kind of tipped the scales for her. She was like, okay, yeah, like I could do this. Why not?
And then the kids love Isaac too, so they had no problem with it. And it's basically all the tropes of a getting married episode. You got the bachelorette party and the bachelor party.
What the other part though that was funny too is that like when the chicks were talking and they were like all drunk, and Seth comes in and they're like, "We need you to sing. Give us your opinion." He's like, "I really don't have a freaking opinion." That was like such a guy and girl scene because we're like girls always want to include guys when like guys have like no interest at all in like
Or
whatever it
actually,
is
we just
going
don't have the
on.
experience because I've been the helpful sober guy quite often, where it's like, "Hi, oh, you're busy. I'm sorry. No, stay here. We have a question. I don't even know what the situation is. Like that's
Right.
okay. I'm just gonna say this. You give us an answer. Like, and from as a man, it's basically deer in headlights for us. Like we don't know. Are we ambushed?
And I think that amuses us to some extent because we know that and we're like amused by it. So
Yeah.
we like that. But we also know that you guys are more logical. Like men are more logical. So that's why we come to you for these logical situations. And in this case, Seth's character was very correct and logical. Like, have you asked your kids? Like, you know? And she was like, yeah, maybe I should do that. You know, maybe I should talk to my kids. So I like that scene a lot. Jerkoff Juggernaut for 5 says, on one side of the argument, at least they weren't trolling for monkeypox. Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, that's
Not in the Orville. Not in the Orville. And so then there's the other storyline, which I was like, oh, God, this storyline. So then they get a communications from the girl from the other planet, the social
the social media planet.
social media planet. That's right. So she's like, you know, all like unhappy on her planet. And she's like, you know, please come rescue me from this fucking clown world that I live on, which I get. Like, you know, like that makes sense.
Yep.
But I forget how she, like, did she steal? Like, how did she contact them?
I think she probably found one of the comm scanners that the two other guys that they went to look for beginning in the first place had left because one of them still lived in their home and was just kind of like a vegetable. So I'm suspecting that again. It's kind of out there. It's like, well, how did she find this part?
How did she find it, and how did she learn to contact them? Like, I was kind of like, what?
Like, did
like,
she steal a comm scanner? And if so, like, all she can use is how to communicate. Luckily, she can't, you know, reverse engineer it or anything.
Who'd she steal it from? The guys, right? I'm guessing
Probably one of the
she stole
guys.
from
Yeah.
Guys, yeah. Okay. So then she steals. By the way, I think she looked way better as a blonde. I don't know why she chose to go brunette, but hey, I'm just saying she looked better as a blonde. Side note, like that. Not that it has anything to do with anything, but I'm just saying I think she's hotter as a blonde. Then she's, you know, she's on there. She's like, I can't go back to my planet. You gotta help me. Basically, I asked for asylum. They give it to her. And meanwhile, freaking, you know, these guys are like planning a wedding and like, you know, it's just like a whole freaking wedding storyline. And the other girl's getting to know the commander, and the commander's kind of like taking her under her wings, like showing her different things. This part was a little trippy for me. I like this part because like it's amazing. Like I was like, it's a like really amazing scene and stuff.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, I was thinking to myself, like, if I was to take someone for the very first time in a holodeck, right? And they're not from my planet. Like, she's not from Earth. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't know what's going on. This is all very new to her. I don't know if I would start her off with such an overwhelming situation. Like, this is so overwhelming to the senses. Like, I think I may have done, like, personally, maybe I would have taken it to, like, you know, circa, I don't know, 19 something, you know,
something more familiar,
Paris, you know, like a Paris cafe, somewhere more normal, like somewhere very beautiful on Earth, so that you can show her where you're coming from and like, you know, what city life was like maybe in her era that she's seen, like, you know, how far you've come as an Earth person and like, you know, like all that stuff. But she takes her to this for the first time. I was like, dude, that would be overwhelming. Like if you saw something like that, wouldn't it? What do you think, Script Doctor?
I think a better rate of acclimation would have been far more useful
Mm-hmm.
for this character. So you first start off with like, hey, let me show you Earth approximately the same time of what your species is at, just to show that we
Right.
get there. And then you just kind of
Just
go
to wet
step
your
by step.
feet. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then she's like, no, we're gonna start at step 10. And then she goes like, oh, like, is this like the best thing you can see in the galaxy? And she's like, no, this isn't even like this, nothing. Like, don't worry, you're gonna see like so much more. And it's just like, dude, this is already extremely overwhelming. You could have started her off like a little
Yeah,
bit.
like no, the next thing up is gonna give you epilepsy.
Yeah, like geez.
That's overabundance of information that's gonna be shooting at you.
Juggernaut for 5 says this episode was dumb. They claimed she wasn't smart enough to use their tech, yet she was able to use their tech. That's why it was like
Well,
kind
it
of
wasn't
like
smart. It's responsible. Big difference between the two, because we later on see that there's another species that the Union helped in the early days that was smart enough to use the technology, but it's not about the intelligence; it's about the responsibility. And you can liken it
right,
to say Amsterdam. Amsterdam
right.
has legal drug use.
Mhm.
The locals there don't abuse it, but the tourists go to town, and as a result of that, a lot of the districts that allowed for the legal use of those drugs and whatnot has shrunk in size. Like they've actually shrunk it down to the point where only this contained area you can do this and be fine as a tourist, because
Mhm.
the tourists would come and abuse it and cause a lot of problems to the locals, who basically demonstrated over many years, we are culturally responsible enough to do this and not harm anyone else. And when that word got out and people started, hey, yeah, let's go to Amsterdam, let's go to the red light district, and it's like, okay, now you're just being disruptive because you're not following the guidance of what Amsterdam has said, which is like, hey, you can do this, just don't be
Mhm.
a jerk about it, don't abuse it, don't ruin it for the rest of us. And unfortunately, a lot of tourists have ruined it for the rest of those.
It's not always the case though.
Yeah, it's not always the case, but enough have done it that it shrunk. Because I remember visiting, I went there to go to Anne Frank's house, and then you had to
Mhm.
like cross through the red light districts to get to the quicker route to it, or you can take the scenic route by a boat on the water.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'd rather just get there quick. And I'm walking through it, and there's construction workers all around. And I asked what's going on. I said, oh yeah, we're shrinking the red light district because of the tourists. And I'm like, oh okay.
When was this? Like what year was this?
2008.
Wow.
And then, funny
I
enough, when
went
I
to the
was
red
left
light
Anne
district too.
Frank's house, that awesome tour, and I took the boat to go on the long way around, there was a drunk German guy that had to be physically thrown off the boat by the tour guide because he was like sexually harassing her while she was trying to conduct her tour.
Wow. See, I went to Amsterdam too, Script Doctor, but I didn't want to go to the Anne Frank's house. I went there to go to the red light district.
Yeah, there was also a Van Gogh art exhibit as well.
I went there
checked
too.
out. That was
The
actually
Van Gogh
kick-ass.
art. I went to the Van Gogh art exhibit. I did do that as well, but I did go with the intention. Well, like at the time, let's just say the coffee shops there were a lot more enticing for people because it wasn't legal in Canada. But
Oh no, the
and
coffee shops are great,
yeah, they were
and they
great.
serve
And then
awesome food.
I did go to the red light district, and I remember like seeing the ladies in the windows because I wanted to see if it was real, like I was like, I didn't
Oh,
believe
I
people when
missed
they
part of
told me
that
that.
part because that was because it's all in different quarters, or at least sections. And the
Hmm.
one that I went to had the coffee shops, and it had comedy like clubs and things of that
Oh.
nature. So that's what I went to. And then I heard that if you cross the street on this side, that's where there's women standing in the window and everything. And I was still with my girlfriend at the time. I was like, I'm not interested in that. If I go back to the hotel where she's waiting for me or meeting up, I'm already gonna get action. So
I went there with my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time. But like we went there together and like we were like window shopping and I was like, she's nice. And he would like, like she's like, what's your type? But we're getting totally off the topic here. But like,
but
dude,
it goes back to the concept of the responsibility, and then
right.
and also the same thing of like, hey, maybe I want to live here. And
Hmm.
so, and then when you live there, you realize maybe it's not exactly what you need it to be. And that's what this character is feeling right now. She feels like she's escaped, that she's in a far better place, and all the people that she kind of cared about back home kind of
Mm-hmm.
should deserve this because it's a better life for them.
Mm-hmm. And she feels guilty. Like I can understand feeling guilty about that because it's like, I mean, if I was to escape right now, right? Like if some alien species came and was like, hey, you know what? We're gonna give you a ride off Clown World. Come with us, and and they're nice, and I know they're not gonna eat me or something like that. It's not some sort of V situation. I'd be sad to leave you behind, Script Doctor. I'd be like, well, like, I have friends that are kind of like sick of Clown World too. Like, can they come? Like, can they come too? And they'd be like, no, sorry, only you. I'd be like, I don't know if I can go. I don't know if I could leave everybody. Never mind, I can. I would totally leave you guys behind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, it's not just because like Earth sucks. I don't think it sucks at all. It's just I want to see what else is out there. My curiosity compels me to make that choice. Where it's like,
especially if they have holodecks, I'd be like, no, like I'm sorry, but I can make an Earth holodeck anytime.
Just because I can't go back to Earth doesn't mean I probably can't say, well, at least can I pick up their radio transmissions and see what's going on?
Right? Yeah. Jerk Off Juggernaut for $20. Wow, you're so generous, and I thank you so much, Jerk Off Juggernaut, for $20. As I hear what you're saying, Script, but we're talking about a whole planet. Not a population of people that can afford to travel. Who's to say that a populace as theirs wouldn't use it for the worst possible reason, not peaceful?
Well, that's the point of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Is the fact that that's why Kelly's saying, like, no, you can't have this technology.
I feel like this is what I was saying earlier, right? Is I feel like this is coming in too late. This is what I'm talking about by them kind of just like, talking about the rules. Like, because this is fleshed out very early on in Star Trek, it's called the first, what's it called? I was going to call it the first commandment, and it's not the first.
You mean the Prime Directive?
Prime Directive, yeah.
Non-interference?
Yeah. The Prime Directive is like very early on fleshed out, like we're like, you don't mess around with societies. Yeah. You don't do this. You don't do that. Like there's certain things that are completely fleshed out in Star Trek. We're now the final episode of the 3rd season, and they're just starting to talk about this. Like they're just trying, and I think that that's a wasted opportunity because this should have already been established before.
Yeah, because they make all these arguments, which is that we could give the technology to you, but how do we know the technology is going to be used for everybody?
Right.
Because not every society is the same. They all have different priorities. There's a chance that maybe only the rich will use this for themselves, and that the poor will still suffer, and they'll never be able to elevate themselves out of poverty because there might be too many factors. And like, there's all these variables in place. And basically what she was getting at is that when the society itself becomes responsible enough to help everybody, or at least encourage everybody to pick themselves up by the bootstraps or what have you, and not forcibly keep people down, if there's societies or pockets of societies that do that, then those things will all kind of come into a floodgate for everybody and allow for more choice and more freedom. But to hand it over to one country or one nation or one subset of the species could risk it and doom everybody else. But one of the things I kind of really bothered me about this is the concept of like the planet evolving to the point of no borders.
There's a lot of commie insinuations there. That's all.
Yeah, because there's these two ideas here with regards to the word of like globalism. So the one which is the bad globalism is the one where cultural identities are blurred with each other and everybody's under one government, one thing. Where a natural kind of globalism is that every country is a first world country, essentially. They're all developed, they all have proper education, everybody has clean water, they can read.
Yes.
And there are national borders, but they're unguarded. They don't need to be protected because there's proper relationships and friendships between different
cultures.
Kind of
like Europe, the way Europe used to be.
The way Europe used to be, what Canada was for 100 years before 9/11 happened, and that all went to crap. Basically, it's like you've got your own culture, and we trade the culture so that for experiences, but there's still a very specific culture that's rooted there that grows over time, and there's no loss of identity as a result of it. That is the eventuality where the most porous, most worst place on the planet of Earth becomes the most modern day thing it is net by our standards, but without losing the cultural heritage that they stemmed from. Like it's just a proper balance and reconciliation between the two, and that's kind of like that's an inevitability over time. It's not going to happen in our lifetimes. It might not happen for another 2, 3, 4,000 years. But the one thing that you don't want is you don't want a select set of governments or representatives at that point that think of themselves as rulers to force that on the rest of the nation or the rest of the planet, because it's not going to be willful. It's going to be compelled, and it's not going to be beneficial to anybody. So, and what we have here is we have a conflation of that, where they want the goal that they think they understand, but when they start saying like, yeah, there's no America, there's no Europe, there's no Africa, there's no Russia, it's just Earth. And it's one government. It's like, well, no, there's reasons that there are things the way they are.
But that's one of the things that, like, some people like make that kind of association with Star Trek also, that it has those kind of like communistic, like, viewpoints, or like the whole like one world, one government thing, or like whatever. But like, it's just what you're saying though. Like, I feel like, and I think this is what the episode's trying to say, is that, and I like that message, is that when you collectively change the way that you think, then you'll be ready for a certain thing. It's like, it's kind of like a video game, right? You're like, you have to get to a certain level before you can move on to the next, like it's just, it's the same thing with technology, because technology can be used for great means, but it can also be,
because if you
destroyer
want
of
to know
worlds.
some of the infrastructure with regards to like Star Trek, there's the president of the Federation, then there's a president of Earth, and then there's the leaders of the countries within Earth. And the president of Earth is just a person that represents Earth in the Federation. That's how it kind of works on the tiers thing. They're not in charge of Earth.
No,
they're just the representative of it. And it's quite interesting, because even in the original series, they talk about like Uhura's from the United States of Africa, which is a country within Africa. And then and Chekhov is from Russia, and Kirk is from the United States of America, from Iowa, and McCoy is from, I think, one of the southern states, I think Louisiana maybe, or
I forget where he's from.
Or South Carolina, something of that nature. I forgot the reason. Someone in the chat will know. And then like, Cisco is from the French Quarter, New Orleans, and there's people all over the place. Like, Miles O'Brien's from Ireland. Like they still say those names and countries, and there's still an infrastructure there. But it's basically like, imagine a world where immigration isn't a problem, because every nation can sustain and absorb the people that want to live there. And yet, and the only reason people immigrate is basically for an opportunity, as opposed to fleeing oppression.
Right.
And
that's what this is also doing, like, it's essentially saying, because she was, this girl was having a problem understanding all of this. Like, like basically, like, what's the point of life? Like, if you're not doing it to basically survive, what's the point of all this? And she was saying the point is to be the best at whatever you can be the best at, like, whatever your passion is, like, that's what the point is. Like, that's how you achieve things, is by, if you want to be like, if you're interested, let's say, in astrophysics, and you become like the best at whatever it is. See, that's why I had a problem with the other girl, Charlie, because she was the best at everything. Like, she tried, whether that was archaeology or, time telling, or like whatever the fuck. Like, it was like, she was like the best at it. It's like, okay, could she like be a little bit less cringe?
Yeah, because it basically says from their society's perspective, their value system works at this: if you are the best at what you can do that you love, that contributes just as much to society as it does to you. And
right.
there's a truth to that. If you're the best artist or the best cyclist or the best whatever, there's going to be something that's going to have a ripple effect to the people around you and the people that watch you. If you're the best athlete, people are going to be encouraged by you.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And if you're the best scientist or your best teacher, you're going to be inspiring other people.
Exactly. You're giving something back to your society.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the sweet spot, so to speak. They say the other part too. This goes back to very, very old school socialism before it was mutated and churned by the acolytes and the Marxists and stuff, which was that the idle is the dangerous thing to society. The people that don't want to do anything, whether they sponge off the state or they have such immense wealth that they don't actually do anything with it other than party and be gluttonous. And so those two ends of the spectrum are considered frowned upon and not really well respected. But here's the other part too: they're still optional. You're not punished for it. It's just,
right. You're not going to be like judged or anything, but people are going to,
you're not going to be persecuted for it, but you might be judged or viewed of less than. But like they'll be like, oh, that's your choice. Okay, bye.
Yeah, but then nobody wants to hang out with you though, because they'll be like, you're not really like you're not doing anything. So like, what's the point of hanging out with you or being friends with you? Like,
Which goes back into that season 1 episode where they're in the zoo, and it's like they can't do anything, so they're just becoming the worst parts of themselves. So you really
right.
It's like
because they're idle, like idle hands make devil
like,
playthings, right?
Ed can't be a captain. So what is he doing? He's drinking beer first thing in the morning.
Right.
Kelly can't be an officer. So what she's doing, she's playing solitaire and eating cereal.
Right. I mean,
annoyingly so.
But that was a great point. That was a great point. That's what happens when you're idle and like you're apathetic and you're like don't give a shit anymore. It's like you're becoming the worst parts of yourself.
Yeah.
Jerkoff Jerkoff for 5 says, "Did you guys see the Nerdrotic the video Nerdrotic posted with a white woman speaking for black women? So bigoted." No, I didn't see that. Is that a new one? I'll have to check it out. I know he was working on Prey's review today.
Yeah, I was looking forward to watching that one. I haven't seen this thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. I'll have to check it out. Do you know what the video is called, Jerkoff Juggernaut? Just let me know. It was a wake for Nichelle Nichols in Trek garb. Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, he posted it on Twitter, right? Yes, I did see it, but I didn't watch it.
Kate Mulgrew said some very kind words about Nichelle Nichols.
Oh, did she? Wasn't it like I thought it was because I saw somebody post it. I think it was the doctor from TNG.
Oh, Gates McFadden?
Yeah, I think it was her because I saw him post something and I kind of like saved the video to watch it later because I didn't have the time. But I was like, yes, okay, I will watch that. Yeah, it's on Gary's Twitter channel, you guys, if you're interested in what Jerkoff Juggernaut is talking about. Okay, but let's before we wrap it up, because we're wrapping it up soon, let's talk about the wedding scene. Because this was really sweet.
Isaac invites his entire species to guests. And
that
freaks out
was
everybody.
Funny. That was funny. This entire situation was funny. I thought this was funny. The Elvis scene was hilarious. That whole situation with Bortus and Gordon was just hilarious. Really good stuff. This scene, every time why don't I fucking call them the Cylons all of a sudden? They're not Cylons, they're Kalons. Kalons, like, just copied everything that Organics did, and it was really funny.
Moved in sync.
Yeah. And then they get up and they're like, because they like don't know how to clap. Oh, it's so funny. I like all of that kind of stuff. It was really funny.
They did skimp a little bit on the budget because only the senior staff are in the white dress uniforms and all the others are in the regular uniforms.
I also thought that was funny that this is the first time we even see the senior staff in white uniforms because like in every other episode they have not. And I've always often wondered that actually, like especially when the ones that are like when they're
the formals,
like when they're trying to, negotiate new treaties or like whatever, they're never in their formal attire. This is like the first time we've seen formal attire, and it's there they are with the outfits. I thought she looked beautiful in the dress. That was really cool.
Yeah, like even the wedding dress try-ons was actually hysterical because that was I liked it. I loved it.
Again, another scene that was very accurate about the role of men versus women because like the dude is literally like, I don't know. You just look good at everything. Like, I don't know. Like the first one was good. The second was good. I've literally had this conversation with my husband like so many times.
Well, that's because as men with the women that we care about, we don't care what they're wearing, just so long as it's nothing.
Oh, wow. That's also true.
Well, listen, every time my girlfriend says, how do I look in this? I'm like, it's terrible. Take it off. Like I've even gotten to say it makes you look fat. Take it off right now.
You sly dog. Oh my god.
It works.
I gotta say though, for him to not tell her that this dress looks fucking awful, it's like, are you blind? It's got a fan on it. Like, what is
giant
that?
wrapping paper bow.
What the hell? It's like one of those. Wait, what are these things called? Script doctor. Hold on, because I don't know English.
It's a pinwheel.
A pinwheel. It's a fucking giant pinwheel on her dress. Like what? No, you don't have to know that dress is freaking ugly. And then she actually changed it though. She changed it to this one. And then she ended up changing it again, which I thought was very accurate because women will not stay on even like the second dress. Like it's like, no, because she changed it again because this is the other one, the other option. But then the third option, like what she actually wore was different than even this one. And I thought that was really funny.
Well, yeah, because when the maid of honor says, "I love that dress," it's like, okay, I'm not wearing this one.
I'm not wearing that. Oh, those things are actually really funny about this series. He does write women really well, which is weird. But he's not doing the writing though, right?
No, he's part of it, but he's not doing all the writing, no.
So that makes sense of why I was trying to get a good shot of the dress again, but
I write women really well, so much so the actresses call me up for monologues for their self tapes.
Oh my god. Yes, I did have a pinwheel in arm's reach because my friend was moving and she was like, I'm leaving and I don't need a bunch of stuff. And she's like, what do you want? And she like gave me a bunch of stuff. And I was like, I'll take this and like your like weird like unicorn
knitted unicorn doll.
Knitted unicorn that's kind of gay. And I like it. It's like a rainbow unicorn. And I was like, oh my god, it's a pinwheel pen, and the fucking pen doesn't even work. So of course she gave it away because the pen doesn't work. So that's why I have one like right here. I know she's a great friend. She's a good friend. But then in this episode though, there was one more scene that I want to talk about. Although I think it was a good decision. The other girl decided to stay. So if there is a third season, we'll definitely see her. Or fourth season, we'll definitely see her again. The toast was hilarious. The music was good. But the final scene I want to talk about is right here. God, if I can get it. I don't know if I can get it on.
Is this like the return of a character scene?
No, this is I don't want to spoil it. But you know what? I can't get it. So you know what? We're just gonna go like this. It was this scene right here because it makes you think that they're gonna come through it all. And probably it kind of I think it insinuated that they might start things up again. Because after all that's been said and done, I feel like they've kind of gone past seeing each other just as like, boss, and they have a really good relationship now. They're like even better than they were husband and wife, and they've grown up so much that they're actually partners. Like they're really partners now, and I think that they're finally ready to take that next step, and I think that's kind of like what the shot was insinuating. And he looks at her like, really, like kind of, he has that stupid Seth look. Like he kind of looks at her like, really, like, because she grabs his hand, right?
Yep.
And he looks at her like, this is the look that he gives her. Like, really, you want to try this again? They didn't have to really say anything, but they did. The Yaphet was in one of the last shots, and I was like,
yep.
I hope Ed hits that again. I would. Oh my god. Jeez. What do you think? Do you think it's good? Do you think they should hook up again? Do you think it's like too much now? What do you think of this whole situation?
Well, I mean, technically you want that to be the happy ending. Is the very last time we see these characters is where they finally get together and it's like, okay, that's good, because it's very, very difficult when in story structures you put the two lovers' interests together midway through the overalling arc of the story, because the dynamic does change, just like with a marriage. You go from dating to being together all the time. Like even if you're living together, like there's still a little bit of separation before that union. So in order to, you have to be very good writers in order to make a relationship work. And something like this with like a Star Trek or an Orville, the relationship isn't the crux of the overall theme of the story. So there is room there to play with, so you can still not have it damper the show, because it's no longer become a will they, won't they part of the storytelling. We've reconciled that they're best friends and they're going to be partners and work partners and whatever. And that kind of satisfies the audience. Like, okay, now we know where they're standing. And if they start to inch back together and it's done basically as like a D plot as opposed to like the principal plot, then you there's tactical ways you can do that. Conversely, if you go to say something like Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, the whole premise of that show, aside from the fact that it was a Superman show, is will Lois and Clark get together? And they did that successfully for the first season. And then the second season, they made them start dating. And then the third season, she finds out, and then he immediately proposes to her. And the whole show just was going way off the rails there, because they were trying to line up the wedding with the wedding in the comics. And
I don't know. I've never seen the show, so I can't comment.
You should. The first season is amazing. You should definitely watch it. Very, very relevant episodes to current day. And this was done in 92 or 93. So.
Oh wait, I thought you were talking about the new Lois and Clark.
Oh no,
I've seen the
new
old one.
Lois and Clark it's all right.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the new.
It tries to
new
be a hopeful
CW
Superman,
one.
but CW, yeah. This is no, Lois and Clark from the 90s. That's from CBS.
Yeah, and I love that one. The one with Terry Hatcher, man.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Terry Hatcher just blew up from that. But they also have an episode where like Dean Stockwell comes in and he tries to take over the media so he can control how people think. Jeez. Isn't that something of interest?
Yes. But yeah, so like and also they ended it on that scene with a spaceship too, which I thought was kind of like it kind of gave me Farscape vibes, because that's kind of how like Farscape ends with them like holding hands on the ship, and they're going into like the next phase of the chapter or whatever. So that's how it ends, with the Orville going into the distance, and they're all together, and the end. And I had mixed feelings about this season, but I'm glad it ended the way it did. It was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
I mean, it had it did not step with its best foot forward at all. But once they kind of got over those first three weird things, from A Tale of Two Topas and on, it felt like a great, closing attempt at the story. Because if we don't get any more after the Orville, at least it ended on a pretty high note.
Yes,
and, a lot of
that's what I was saying. Like, I would be okay if they decide to end it at this point. Like, I would be okay if we never get it again, because it's like there's been so many times where like we've gotten new seasons of stuff, and I've been like, this was fucking awful. Like, maybe they should have just ended it, like just end it on a high note. Like take a cue from Seinfeld, just end it at a high note.
Not with that episode, because that last episode was funny, but it wasn't their
best.
No, it wasn't.
But you know what's so weird? Those script doctors, a lot of people who hated that episode now, like looking at it back, like you don't hate it as much, because you're like, okay, that was still pretty good, especially for like nowadays.
Well, like the Curb Your Enthusiasm reunion episode was a way better send off to the Seinfeld family.
Definitely. I mean, that whole season though.
And that was talked around town even when I was like getting started. It's like, yeah, Seinfeld, it was a funny episode, but it's not the episode that you end off by. You don't end the episode with this very same joke you started with. to try and make it poetic. You got to hit it with something harder.
Right.
And yeah, that was one of the things you learned the hard way, but that was awesome.
Yeah. But it's still, I don't know. I mean, I hope we get it. I don't know. I have hope we get another season, and I have hope. I'm like kind of like, I don't know. I mean, it
No,
could
what
be
will happen
it
is
could
we
be
won't
another
get-
full season of shit because this season was half shit. Like, I was
Well,
like, ooh.
I mean, we'll probably won't get another Orville, but who knows? In 18 years, we might get a next generation of the Orville with Topa as the captain. or
Oh
something.
my God. Can you imagine? That would be kind of crazy, actually. Well, you know what? You only need like 3 months because that's like the next generation. That's how fast those kids grow up there. It's like,
Yeah, but like compared to like the original series and the next generation, it's like 18 years difference, almost 20 years.
right.
Between the ending and the premiere. So it's like, yeah, we'll see
Mhm.
that. And 2040 is when the next Orville, Newer Horizons.
Orville, Newer Horizons. Yeah, Orville, the next generation of Horizons.
Yeah.
Script Doctor, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure to talk to you guys, to Scott. Thank you, Scott, for coming here. Orville Nation was supposed to come, but couldn't make it. Like you guys, thank you everybody in the chat. Jerkoff Juggernaut, thank you so much for all the super chats tonight, including this one. For $2 says, I do not want a season 4 of Orville Disney Plus. Yeah, that's the other thing too.
Why? It's a Fuzzy Door production. Disney has no control over it.
Oh, really? So
They're just
we
a
don't-
distributor. Yeah.
We don't have to be scared of Disney Plus's or like Disney's,
Disney has a
Disney-fying
huge,
the Orville.
yeah, Disney has a huge stake in Hulu, but they also have contracts with Seth, and if they allowed the Orville as it stands to debut as it did, and remember, this is under Disney prior to Chapek's taking over,
Right.
because it's being filmed while Iger was involved. If they allowed that Orville to be that way, then yeah, I'm pretty sure if they get a season 4, it's going to be a bit more consistent. Might even be a little less on the political side of things. Who knows? Depends on the writing team that they get for that next season.
I think that it will. I don't know, actually, depending on when it
Like, if
starts.
it's more
Because if it
sci-fi
starts
and less
before
that.
the election again, we're fucked. Like, especially if Trump decides to run again.
Well, yeah, he is. He already announced it.
Oh, he did? Oh, well then never mind. But this is kind of like the latest that dropped today, or dropped the other day for this. So Seth MacFarlane on the Orville season 4 renewal. Oz Disney Plus viewing could be a game changer. So he really does want this on Disney Plus. And he's basically said that it's 50-50 if it's going to happen at this time. He commented about the cast being on different kind of like schedules now because it's been so long since the COVID situation took
Adrienne
over.
Palicki dyed her hair red for her current role that she's doing right now.
Which one is she? Sorry.
She plays Kelly, the blonde.
Oh, okay. Ooh, what's her new role?
I don't know all the details of it yet. I think it's a pilot, but it might be an indie film. Because I know she just finished another indie film recently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because like apparently, like, the cast have some problems. And he says that there's some trickiness involved in that. MacFarlane admitted on TV Line in a Saturday afternoon phone call. But look, the actors are the easiest part. The stickier wicket, he said, is how do I work it in everything else that's now going on, including but not limited to a Ted prequel series for Peacock. So he's also doing this.
That's with Universal, yeah.
Which, like, what? Like,
well, I mean, he just has to
wants a
provide some
Ted
of the writing and
prequel
the voice.
series.
Yeah.
Does anyone want a Ted prequel series though? Like, what the fuck?
It'd be basically Ted with the kid, I guess, during the late 80s and 90s.
Does that interest you in any like way, shape, or form? Like,
Not really, no.
Not me. Like, that is not interesting to me. I'm more interested in the Orville than fucking Ted.
The novelty of Ted is really a one and done. They never should have done a sequel.
I never think. Yeah, I don't think they should have done a sequel either. It should have been like just one. Like that's it. Like, just stop now. And then MacFarlane would make it happen though if the show is and its fans are so blessed with season 4 order. I will say that I get as emotionally invested in the show as any of the fans he attested. So I will find a way to do it if there is a season 4. So it's up to Disney, I guess. If they
It's up
want
to the fans to tune in on Disney Plus to watch it.
So there you go. So if you guys have a Disney Plus account, I don't. Spoiler alert, I don't have one. If you do, if you want a season 4, tell your peeps to go and watch the Orville on a Disney Plus, and then maybe they'll get another season. But yeah, so thank you again, Script Doctor. Tell everyone where they can find you before we.
Oh, well, it's been awesome to hang out with you and Scott. And you can find me on Twitter at ScriptDoctorPhD, and you can take a look at my video essays on YouTube at youtube.com/ScriptDoctor, where I do breakdowns and analyses on film and television. Channel is a little dormant at the moment because I am working on actual things right now, like stories, movies, and television shows that are being shopped at this moment. So hopefully when that slows down, it's a double-edged sword. If it slows down, I'll do more videos. If it picks up, I'm going to be a bit more away. But
I understand.
It's a double-edged sword at this point, but it's a good place to be.
I understand. It is on Hulu as well. Like they're not taking it away, but if the more people watch it on Disney Plus, I guess if the Disney Plus has, let's just say if like I'm pretty sure if Disney Plus, let's say, has better numbers for this than like Captain Marvel or like the like Ms. Marvel or whatever, like that new show that they came out with.
Yeah.
If this has better numbers than that, I'm sure it's going to get another season. So if you have a Disney Plus account, like
if it gets better numbers than say Kenobi, Miss Marvel, and Andor,
yeah,
I
don't see why it wouldn't.
It'd be silly for them to say no.
Especially Miss Marvel. Like, come on now, it's gonna do better than Miss Marvel.
And Miss Marvel was one of the better written shows that they released.
Apparently, I've heard that it was really good. Like in that sense, like much better than the other ones. I didn't watch it.
But the thing is, like when you have like 4 or 5 duds prior to you, that's enough of a pattern for audiences not to take interest in something that's good.
That was me.
And I don't blame an audience for that at all. I think that's a perfectly fair assessment going into it.
Again, thank you everybody for showing up tonight. You guys are awesome. Tomorrow I'll be on Toxic Femme, Midnight's Edge. And we'll probably be back next week to review something, probably Prey, maybe Prey.
Yeah.
Or something else. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But thank you guys, everybody in the chat. If you super chatted, massive thank you. Thank you, George Molo, for gifting all those memberships. Thank you, everybody, for pressing the membership button if you did. And of course, all of you guys in the chat who just hung out, watched, pressed the thumbs up, commented, chatted with us. You guys are awesome. Everybody's awesome. Mwah! I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Wait, what should we end it on? Naked Tom Hiddleston for Teresa. Where are you, Naked Tom Hiddleston? Okay, bye.
I'm so sorry.
I'll survive.
I don't doubt it. You're an excellent specimen.